The nurse used my first name, and my sister stopped crying. Not gradually, not the way people compose themselves when a stranger walks into a funeral luncheon. Vanessa's face simply went still, her tissue pressed beneath one perfectly lined eye, while Elaine Porter crossed the church basement toward me with both arms open. "Claire, honey," she said, "I was hoping I'd find you." Around us, 40 people held paper plates of baked ziti and listened. Elaine hugged me hard enough to rock me backward. She smelled faintly of peppermint and the lavender hand lotion she used after changing Mom's dressings. "How did you sleep?" she asked. "After all those nights in that awful recliner, I bet your body doesn't even remember what a bed is." Over her shoulder, I saw my father lower his fork. 5 minutes earlier, Vanessa had stood beside Mom's framed portrait and told those same people she had cared for our mother alone. She had used the word alone twice. Then Elaine stepped back, keeping one hand around mine, and said, "Your mom asked me to give you something." That was when Vanessa came toward us. The church basement had always made every family event feel vaguely disciplinary. Beige cinder block walls, metal folding chairs, fluorescent lights that hummed above our grief. Somebody from the parish had tried to soften the room with white tablecloths, but the cloths were plastic, and every time a person set down a cup, it made a hollow little thump. Vanessa moved through the tables as if she had planned the seating herself, which she had: black dress, low heels, pearl earrings that had belonged to Mom. Our Aunt Rosemary reached out and touched her arm as she passed. "You sit down, sweetheart," Rosemary said. "You've done enough." Vanessa gave her a brave, exhausted smile. "I just need to make sure everyone's taken care of." It was a good line. Vanessa had always been good with lines that sounded spontaneous. Elaine still held my hand. She was in navy pants and a burgundy sweater instead of her hospice scrubs, and without the plastic badge clipped to her chest, she looked smaller, more ordinary. During Mom's last month, Elaine had seemed almost architectural, like part of the house itself. She knew which floorboards snapped near the bathroom and how to keep the oxygen tubing from catching under the recliner. "I didn't know if you'd come," I said. "I told you I would. You told me to text you the details, and you did." Vanessa arrived beside us with her mouth arranged into a smile. "Elaine," she said. "How nice." The smile said something else. Elaine hugged her too, but it was a shorter hug. "I'm so sorry, thank you." Vanessa touched Elaine's elbow. "Mom adored you. Your mother was something. She really was." Vanessa looked down at our joined hands. "What were you giving Claire?" Elaine blinked, then reached into her purse. "Oh, right." She brought out a small pouch made of faded blue fabric, gathered at the top with a white cord. I recognized it immediately. Mom kept her good rosary in it, although she hadn't attended Mass regularly since a priest told her divorce was sometimes a failure of patience. Mom had remained married to Dad another 37 years out of what she called spite and what Dad called love. My hand did not move. "What is that?" Vanessa asked. "Your mom asked me to keep it safe," Elaine said. She wanted Claire to have it. A chair leg scraped across the floor. Dad had pushed himself up from his table. At 72, he was broad through the chest and unsteady only when somebody was watching. He came toward us carrying the plate I had made for him, untouched except for a crescent bitten from a dinner roll. "What's going on?" he asked. "Nothing," I said automatically. Vanessa said, "Apparently, Mom gave Elaine something for Claire." The emphasis on apparently made Elaine's eyebrows lift. Dad looked at the pouch. "When?" "The Thursday before Diane passed." "That Thursday?" Vanessa asked. Elaine's eyes shifted to her. "Yes." Vanessa had told everyone at the luncheon that she had spent that Thursday holding Mom's hand. I had actually been there from 7 that morning until a little after midnight. Vanessa had arrived at 6 in the evening with 2 vanilla milkshakes, though Mom could no longer swallow anything thicker than broth. She sat on the edge of the bed for 20 minutes, took a photograph of their hands together, then went upstairs because she had a conference call with Seattle at 8 the next morning. None of that needed to be said in a church basement. At least that was what I had been trained to believe. Elaine placed the pouch in my palm and curled my fingers over it. She was very clear. Vanessa glanced toward the nearest table. Aunt Rosemary was pretending to discuss pasta with our cousin Jill. 3 women from Mom's book club had gone silent in a row. Well, Vanessa said brightly, Mom wasn't always clear near the end. Elaine's face changed. It was not dramatic. Elaine had spent 22 years entering houses where people lied about pain, drinking, money, fear, and whether anybody had remembered the morphine. She had a professional stillness that made you hear yourself. She was clear that day, Elaine said. I didn't mean I know what you meant. Dad cleared his throat. We all appreciate what you did for Diane. Oh, I loved her, Elaine said. And you girls did a beautiful job. Vanessa's shoulders loosened. Then Elaine looked at me, especially this one. I don't know how you kept making that drive. There it was again. Not an accusation, not proof placed on a table, just my existence spoken aloud by somebody who had seen it. Vanessa turned to me. You told Elaine you were driving in every night? I was driving in every night. Not every night, 4 nights most weeks. Well, yes, but I was there. I could feel the white cord of the pouch pressing between my fingers. Elaine said, Of course you were. Vanessa laughed once. That sounds like it means something. Vanessa, Dad warned. No, I'm curious. She looked from Elaine to me. Because I just gave a speech about the hardest year of my life, and now everybody's acting like I made it up. Nobody had acted like that. Nobody had moved at all. Dad lowered his voice. This is not the time. I agree, I said. Vanessa's eyes snapped to mine. Do you? There were 2 ways to answer Vanessa. The first was to answer the question she had asked. The second was to answer the question beneath it, then spend 3 days being punished for your tone. I had always chosen the first. I didn't ask Elaine to say anything, I said. Say what? She hasn't said anything. Exactly. That almost made Elaine smile. Dad pushed the plate toward me. Claire, would you put this somewhere? I can't eat. I took it. Of course I took it. I was holding Mom's mysterious blue pouch in one hand and my father's cold-baked ziti in the other, which was about as accurate a portrait of my place in the Mercer family as anyone would ever paint. Daniel appeared at my side and removed the plate from my hand. I've got it, he said. My husband was not a large man, but he had a way of standing quietly that made other people feel they had missed a posted rule. He kissed my temple, nodded to Elaine, and carried Dad's plate away. Vanessa watched him go. He hates me. He doesn't hate you. He never talks to me. He doesn't know which version of you he's getting. Claire, Dad said. There it was, my name as a reprimand. Elaine had used it like I was someone she had been looking for. Dad used it like a hand on the brake. I slipped the pouch into my purse. Vanessa folded her tissue into smaller and smaller squares. Are you going to open it? Not here. Why not? Because Mom gave it to me. Her lips parted. I had not said anything cruel. That was probably why it landed. Dad touched the knot of his tie. It was the dark green one Mom bought him for their 40th anniversary, and he had tied it too short. Your mother wouldn't want you two fighting. Vanessa looked at him. I'm not fighting. Neither am I said. You're both doing whatever this is. He waved between us, irritated by a mess he could not hand to either daughter without choosing one. Then he turned to Elaine. I'm sorry you had to see it. Elaine gave him a level look. Mr. Mercer, I've seen families. A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. It was small and ugly and completely wrong for the room. Dad stared at me. Elaine squeezed my wrist. Call me. Then she went to sign the guest book. Vanessa waited until she was out of earshot. You got very close to her. She helped Mom. She helped all of us. I looked at my sister. Do you know her last name? The tissue stopped moving in Vanessa's fingers. I regretted it immediately, not because it was untrue, but because it felt good. Dad whispered, For God's sake. Vanessa's cheeks colored. I was living in that house for 2 months. I didn't need to memorize every employee. She wasn't an employee, I said. She was Mom's nurse. Oh, now I didn't care about Mom because I didn't learn Elaine's biography. I didn't say that. You don't have to. You arranged this whole little moment beautifully. That was so absurd I almost admired it. You think I invited a hospice nurse to Mom's funeral as an ambush? I think you enjoy being underestimated because then you get to punish everybody for it. For 1 second, neither of us spoke. Vanessa could still surprise me. That was the worst thing about sisters. They knew where the doors were, even doors neither of you had opened in years. Dad glanced around the room. People are looking. They've been looking, Vanessa said. Her voice broke on the last word, and suddenly she was not polished or strategic. She was my sister standing under fluorescent lights in Mom's pearls, terrified that grief itself might have a scoreboard. I wanted to hug her. I also wanted to ask why she had said alone. Instead, Aunt Rosemary arrived with a styrofoam cup of coffee and placed herself between us. Your mother would haunt this entire basement if she saw those faces, she said. And knowing Diane, she'd start with the eyebrows. Vanessa let out a wet laugh. Dad did too. I smiled because Aunt Rosemary was right and because humor was the family door marked exit. Come sit, Rosemary told Vanessa. Jill wants to hear about the last few days. You were such a comfort to your mom. Vanessa looked at me before she answered. I did my best, she said. Then she went with Rosemary. Dad stayed. He stared at the floor where a drop of red sauce had fallen near his shoe. Your sister's had a terrible year, he said. I waited. He rubbed his thumb over his wedding band. Living with sickness like that. Being right there every day. I was right there. I know you helped. The words settled between us with the weight of a paper napkin. Dad finally looked up. His eyes were bloodshot, his chin trembling. She's gone, Claire. Every sharp answer I had disappeared. I know, Dad. I keep thinking she's in the bathroom. Isn't that stupid? I hear the pipes and think she'll come out complaining I left my shoes in the hallway. He had left them there for 47 years. Mom had complained for 47 years. That was apparently a marriage. The same small irritation surviving every promise to change. I took his hand. He leaned toward me, and for a moment he was not the judge of which daughter had suffered correctly. He was just my father, warm and shaking with tomato sauce on his cuff. Don't let this turn ugly, he said into my hair. Your mother needs you to keep us together. Even then. Even with her in a coffin 6 miles away, Mom could still need something from me. Daniel found me 20 minutes later in the narrow kitchen behind the basement hall. I was scraping plates into a black trash bag while 2 parish volunteers wrapped leftovers in foil. He took the plastic fork out of my hand. We're leaving, he said. I need to help clean up. No, you don't. One of the volunteers, a woman named Barb who had known me since my first communion, nodded solemnly. We have industrial equipment. Behind her was a residential dishwasher older than I was. Daniel held out my coat. I put it on. Outside, the March air had turned mean. Dirty snow edged the parking lot, and the sky had the flat gray color Mom used to call Tupperware weather. Daniel unlocked the car but did not get in. Are you okay? He asked. No. Good. I stared at him. I mean, that's an honest answer. We can work with that. I leaned against the passenger door. Through the basement windows, I could see blurred legs moving beneath the tables. Vanessa thinks I set her up. Vanessa thinks weather happens to make her hair look bad. She's grieving. So are you. Dad's a wreck. I noticed. He can't even eat. He ate the dinner roll. Despite myself, I laughed. Daniel put both hands in his coat pockets. What's in the pouch? I don't know. You haven't looked? I said I wouldn't open it there. You're not there. My purse felt heavier against my hip. I took out the blue pouch. The fabric was soft with age. The white cord grayed where Mom's fingers had touched it over the years. I loosened the knot and tipped the contents into my palm. Her wedding ring came first, then a small brass key I recognized from the recipe box on her kitchen counter. Last came a folded square of paper. The handwriting wandered downhill, but it was hers. For Claire, who always knows what needs doing. I stopped. Daniel read over my shoulder as I opened the final fold. Please help your father when I'm gone. Daniel read the note twice. Wow, he said. It was not a big word, but he put enough into it. I folded the paper along Mom's original creases. She was worried about him. She was dying. Exactly. No, Claire. I mean, she was dying and she still had you on assignment. I slipped the note back into the pouch. The ring stayed in my palm, cold and heavier than it looked. Mom's hands had been narrow even before she got sick. By the end, the ring had slid so loosely around her finger that Elaine wrapped a strip of medical tape beneath it. She gave me her wedding ring. She gave you a job. The ring was the paperclip. That's a terrible thing to say. I know. He did not take it back. A gust pushed grit across the parking lot. Somewhere behind the church, a metal vent rattled. I put the ring in the pouch with the key and note, tightened the cord, and placed it at the bottom of my purse. Daniel opened the car door for me. I'm sorry, he said. So am I. For what? I got in without answering. We had barely turned onto Route 82 when my phone rang through the car speakers. Dad filled the dashboard in bright white letters. Daniel looked at the screen, then at me. I have to answer. You always have to answer. My mother was buried today. That is usually when people stop needing immediate favors from the deceased person's daughter. I hit the button on the steering wheel. Hi, Dad. Where are you? His voice had that startled edge it got whenever he called and discovered I existed in a place he had not approved. We just left the church. You left? Yes. I didn't see you go. I looked for you. You were talking to Father Brennan. There was a pause while Dad decided whether my attempt counted. Vanessa's still here, he said. Of course she was. She would stay until the last guest left, until every foil tray had been assigned, until the women from the parish watched her carry something heavy. Okay? Rosemary brought over all these flowers. I don't know what we're supposed to do with them. You can take them home, all of them, or donate some. To who? I closed my eyes. The nursing home might take them. Which nursing home? Daniel's hands tightened on the wheel. I can call tomorrow. I don't want them dying in the car. They're already cut flowers, Dad. Another pause. You sound tired, he said. I almost laughed. I am. Well, go home. We'll figure it out. He said it as though he had released me. Okay, I love you. You too. The call ended. Daniel drove another half-mile before saying, The nursing home has a phone. I know. He has a phone. I know. Cut flowers don't experience a second death in a Buick. I know. He reached over and laid his hand on my knee. I'm going to keep saying things until you either laugh or throw me out of the car. I can't throw you out. You're driving. There she is. At home. I put my purse on the kitchen counter and did not touch it again. Daniel ordered Chinese food. I took 3 bites of sesame chicken and fell asleep sitting upright on the couch while a home renovation show played loudly enough to make demolition seem personal. At 2:17 in the morning, I woke to my phone vibrating on the coffee table. This time, I answered before Daniel stirred. Dad, I can't find your mother's pills. I sat up. What pills? The white ones. Mom had 14 white pills, the stomach ones. She said they helped when she had the acid. Famotidine? How would I know? I pressed my fingers to my forehead. Why do you need Mom's medicine? I ate that ziti when I got home. Daniel opened his eyes. Dad, you can't take prescriptions that weren't written for you. It's Pepsid, not heroin. The sentence was so much like Mom that for a second I could hear her saying it from the kitchen, annoyed at both of us. Check the downstairs bathroom cabinet, I said. Top shelf, left side. There's an over-the-counter box behind the cotton swabs. Silence, then the sound of a drawer slamming. You moved everything. I didn't move anything. Somebody did. Vanessa cleaned the bathroom before people came over. Well, where did she put it? I don't know. Call her. It was the first time I had ever said those words to him. Dad went quiet. "Is something wrong?" I asked. "No. Are you having chest pain?" "No, it's acid. If it's severe or feels different, you need to call 911. I'm not calling an ambulance for heartburn." "Then call Vanessa and ask where she put the box. It's after 2. I looked at the glowing numbers on the cable box. I know, she needs her sleep. Beside me, Daniel sat all the way up. I lowered my voice. "So do I." Dad made a sound like I had embarrassed him. "Never mind. I'll find it." He hung up. Daniel held out his hand. "Give me the phone." "What are you going to do?" "Put it in the freezer." I got up instead. In the kitchen, I drank water straight from a glass that still had a lipstick mark from the morning before. My own lipstick. It felt like evidence of a different person. Daniel leaned against the doorway. "You should call him back," he said. I stared at him. "What? You want to?" "No, I don't. You've been standing there negotiating with yourself for 3 minutes. It's been 30 seconds. Time moves differently in this family. I called Dad back. He had found the Pepsid. By 9 the next morning, he needed help with the coffee maker. At 10:30, he could not remember which neighbor had borrowed Mom's folding card table. At 11, Vanessa texted me a photograph of 6 black garbage bags lined up in the upstairs hallway. Going through Mom's clothes. "Can you come help decide donations?" I typed, "Not today." Then I erased it and wrote, "I can come for an hour." Daniel was in the shower. I left before he got out. Mom and Dad's house sat on a street of low brick ranches built when people still believed one bathroom was enough for a family. I parked behind Vanessa's white SUV. The funeral flowers had been brought inside and distributed across every flat surface. Lilies crowded the television. Carnations blocked the kitchen window. A basket of daisies sat on Dad's recliner, forcing him into Mom's chair where he looked irritated and disloyal. Finally, Vanessa said when I entered. She was barefoot, wearing black leggings and one of Dad's old Kent State sweatshirts. Without makeup, her face looked swollen and younger. "You said 11. It's 11:15. I live 2 hours away." 1 hour and 43 minutes. "You timed it?" "I've driven it. That was meant to establish something, although I was not sure what." Dad pointed at the coffee maker. "It's making that noise." The machine gurgled normally on the counter. "That's the water heating," I said. "It never did that before. It has always done that." He looked betrayed by all 3 of us, me, the machine, and the dead woman who had apparently concealed its noises. Vanessa stepped around the garbage bags. "Can you look at Mom's sweaters? I don't know which ones Rosemary might want. Did Rosemary ask for any?" "No, but she'll be offended if we don't offer. Then offer before we bag them. I'm trying to make progress, Claire." The house no longer smelled like Mom. It smelled like funeral flowers, coffee, and the lemon cleaner Vanessa used on every surface, including wood. On the kitchen counter, the ceramic recipe box stood beneath the wall phone, yellow roses painted on the lid. The brass key in my purse opened the tiny lock nobody had used in years. Vanessa caught me looking at it. "Did Mom give you the key to that?" "Yes." "What's in it?" "Recipes." "You don't know that. It's a recipe box. She may have kept other things in there." "Like what?" "I don't know. That's why I'm asking." Dad shifted in the recliner. "Your mother hid cash in strange places." Vanessa and I both looked at him. "What?" he said. $20, grocery money. "I'm not saying there's buried treasure." "There's no buried treasure," I said. Vanessa opened a cabinet and took out 3 mugs. "You don't actually know until you open it." I left the box where it was. Upstairs, Mom's bedroom looked wider without the hospital bed. The rental company had removed it the morning before the visitation. 4 deep dents remained in the carpet where the wheels had rested. Her dresser had been wiped clean except for a wooden jewelry box and a glass dish holding 2 safety pins, a collar stay that belonged to Dad, and a penny. The bags in the hallway were filled with clothing Vanessa had already sorted. "You did all this morning? I couldn't sleep." She sat on the edge of the bed. Her shoulders sagged inside Dad's sweatshirt. For a few minutes, we unfolded sweaters and made piles. Donate, Rosemary, keep. The keep pile was the smallest and the hardest. a red cardigan Mom wore every Christmas, a gray pullover with a coffee stain near the hem, a blue zip-up that still held a tissue in the pocket. Vanessa pressed the tissue to her face. "That's disgusting," I said gently. She laughed, then cried so suddenly I put my arm around her. "I hated that bed," she said. "I know. I could hear the motor from my room. I know, even when nobody was moving it. I could hear it." I rubbed her shoulder. "She called for you," Vanessa said. My hand stopped. "All the time," she added, "when you weren't here." I looked toward the empty square in the carpet. "What did you tell her?" "That you were coming." The answer could have been kindness or accusation. With Vanessa, it was usually both. "I came whenever you called." "I know." For once, she said it without qualification. Downstairs, Dad shouted my name. Vanessa wiped her face with Mom's tissue and stood. "He wants you. He can want both of us. He probably needs something you know." There it was again, the compliment with a handle attached. Dad had found a folder on the dining room table. Insurance statements, hospice instructions, medication lists, all organized by month in the binder I had made. "What do I do with these?" he asked. "Keep them for now. For how long?" "I don't know. I can check." Vanessa came down behind me. "I'll handle the estate paperwork." Dad visibly relaxed. She continued, "Claire, can you go through the medical stuff since you know what it all is? I can tell you what to keep." "Great. And the oxygen company left another message. They need someone to schedule the pickup. Did they leave a number?" "It's on the machine, then call it." She blinked. "Right now. Whenever you want them to pick it up." "I thought you were handling hospice. Mom doesn't have hospice anymore." The sentence entered the room and changed the air. Dad turned away first. Vanessa folded her arms. "Fine, I'll call." She said it like a dare. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Daniel. I stepped into the kitchen to answer. "Where are you?" he asked. I looked at the recipe box, the flowers, the note from the oxygen company tucked beneath a magnet shaped like Florida. "At my parents' house. You left before I got out of the shower. Vanessa needed help with Mom's clothes. Did she?" I watched my sister lift the phone from its cradle, read the number on the oxygen machine, and then look toward the kitchen as if waiting for me to come take it from her. "I don't know," I said. Vanessa kept looking. I turned my back. "What don't you know?" Daniel asked. "Whether she needed me?" "That's new." His voice was dry but not unkind. Behind me, Vanessa said, "Hi, this is Vanessa Mercer calling about a pickup," with the crisp brightness she used for hotel clerks and people she intended to blame later. "I told her to call the oxygen company," I said. Daniel was quiet. "You can congratulate me. I'm waiting to see if you stay on the line and feed her the answers." "I'm not going to." Vanessa covered the mouthpiece. "What was Mom's patient number?" I closed my eyes. "Check the binder," I said. "Which section? The one labeled hospice?" She made a face and flipped open the binder. Daniel heard all of it. "You were saying?" "I'm hanging up now." "Excellent boundary." "Don't be smug." "I'm not smug. I'm making eggs." I could hear the skillet behind him. "I'm sorry I left." "I know." That should have made me feel better. It did not. I ended the call and turned around. Vanessa had found the number without me. She was writing a pickup time on the Florida-shaped note with one of Mom's pens. "Tuesday, noon to 4, she said after hanging up. "Somebody has to be here." Dad looked at me. I looked at Vanessa. She stared back for a beat, then said, "I'll work from here." Nothing exploded. No one accused me of abandonment. The ceiling did not cave in. "Okay," I said. Dad picked at the edge of the insurance folder. "I thought Claire usually did Tuesdays." "I have a job, Dad, so does Vanessa." "I know." He looked offended by the answer, possibly because it left him nowhere to put his next sentence. I went back upstairs and finished sorting the sweaters. By the time we tied the last bag, my 1 hour had become 3. That was progress in the same way drinking half a bottle of bleach was progress from drinking the whole thing. Vanessa dragged 2 bags toward the stairs. "Are you taking those?" I asked. "I assumed you could drop them at Goodwill." "Why?" "Because you have room in your trunk." "So do you." "I'm staying here. I'm driving back to Columbus." There's a Goodwill near the highway. There's one 6 minutes from here. She let go of the bags. Fine. I waited for the insult. It did not come. Instead, she sat on the top step and pressed both hands to her face. What? I asked. I can still smell her. I sat beside her. The hallway carpet had a pale line where the runners used to be before Mom decided runners were an ambush for old women. Downstairs, Dad opened and closed a cabinet. Vanessa leaned her head against the wall. I kept thinking once the funeral was over, I'd feel different, she said. Different how? I don't know. Finished. With Mom? With the part where every sound meant something. I knew what she meant. A cup setting down too hard. A cough that lasted one breath longer. The electric rise of the hospital bed at 3 a.m. By the end, silence had been the loudest sound in the house. She asked me if she was dying, Vanessa said. When? Monday night, before you came. What did you say? That Elaine would be there in the morning. That isn't an answer. I know that now. I looked at her. She had Mom's chin, though neither of them would have admitted it. What did she say? She said, "That isn't what I asked you." Despite everything, I smiled. That sounds like her. Vanessa smiled too, then twisted the drawstring of Dad's sweatshirt around her finger. I went upstairs, she said. I told her I had to send an email. The confession hung there, small and awful. I could have comforted her. I could have said anybody might have panicked, that dying people asked impossible questions, that Mom could be blunt enough to make honesty feel like a weapon. Instead, I asked, "Did you send one?" Vanessa looked at me. "Yes," she said. "I did." Then she stood and carried the bags downstairs by herself. Before I left, I took the brass key from my purse and opened the recipe box. Vanessa hovered at my shoulder while Dad watched from the table. Inside were index cards, exactly as promised. Some were typed, some were written in Mom's slanted blue ink. Several were stained with butter or vanilla. A card labeled Richard's Famous Chili had Uncle Richard's name crossed out and Mom's written above it. Vanessa exhaled. "Disappointed?" I asked. "No. You thought Dad's $20 might have multiplied. I thought maybe she put letters in there." "What kind of letters?" Vanessa shrugged. "Something personal. Every card was personal. Mom had written too much cinnamon beside her French toast recipe and never again." Next to a gelatin salad Aunt Rosemary brought to Easter in 1998. On the back of the meatloaf card, she had written, "Claire likes extra glaze." I placed that card on top before Vanessa could see it. Dad reached for the box. "Your mother's pot roast recipe is in there." "I know. I like that." "I know. You should take pictures of all of them in case something happens to the cards." Vanessa said, "I can scan them." He looked doubtful. "Claire knows how Mom organized them." "They're alphabetical," Vanessa said. Mom had placed appetizers under S for snacks, chicken under P for poultry, and every dessert under G for good things. There was no system except knowing her. "I'll do it later," I heard myself say. Vanessa glanced at me. Dad nodded, satisfied. No rush. He meant the opposite. I took the recipe box home. I told myself it was because Mom had given me the key. I told myself Vanessa would lose the cards or Dad would spill coffee on them. I told myself 20 different stories, all of which ended with another object in my care. Daniel was vacuuming when I walked in. He switched it off and looked at the box under my arm. "What's that?" "Mom's recipes." "And the bags?" "What bags?" He smiled. "I'm proud of you. Please stop grading me." "I'm not. You're standing there looking relieved that I didn't come home with garbage. Donation items. See?" He took the recipe box and set it on the kitchen table with more care than his joke suggested. "I made eggs," he said. "It's 4:30. I made new eggs." "Why?" "Because the first eggs became a rubber sculpture while I waited for my wife to come home." "I told you I was sorry, I know." That phrase again. Softer this time, but no easier. I wrapped my arms around him. For several seconds, he held them at his sides. "Are you mad?" I asked into his shirt. "Yes." "Then hug me mad." He did. That evening, I photographed the recipe cards, 117 of them. I straightened each card against the wooden edge of the table, took the picture, checked the focus, and filed it by category on my laptop. Daniel sat across from me reading a mystery novel and pretending not to notice. At card 83, he said, "What happens if you don't finish tonight?" "Nothing." At card 96, he went to bed. I finished at 12:41. Vanessa posted the funeral photograph the next morning. It showed her beside Mom's portrait, one hand resting on the frame. She had cropped out Aunt Rosemary's elbow and most of the folding chair behind her. The caption began, "Yesterday we laid my beautiful mother to rest after 18 months of walking beside her through the hardest journey of our lives." Our lives was an improvement over alone. Then I kept reading. Being her caregiver changed me in ways I'm only beginning to understand. I would do every sleepless night, every frightening decision, every quiet hour again for one more morning with her. There were already 86 comments. "You were her angel. No daughter could have done more. I watched you give up everything." I set the phone face down. Daniel was pouring coffee. "What?" "Nothing." He waited. I pushed the phone toward him. He read the post, his expression flattening. "You can comment," he said. "And say what?" "The truth." "What truth? That she did live there? That she did help? That she also went to Nashville for her anniversary while I used 4 vacation days because Mom had a bowel obstruction?" "Yes." "At 7 in the morning under a funeral picture? Truth has office hours. It would look cruel. It would look cruel to people who believe her. That's everybody." He placed my phone back on the counter. "Not everybody." I thought of Elaine saying my name across the basement, the room going quiet, Dad telling me not to let things turn ugly, as if ugliness began at the moment someone pointed to it. My phone buzzed. Vanessa. "Dad says you have the medical binder?" I did not. It was on his dining room table, exactly where she had left it. I typed that. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "Can you call him and explain? He won't listen to me." I wrote, "Tell him to look on the dining room table." He says it isn't there. Daniel read over my shoulder. "Do not drive to Ohio for a binder. I'm not driving to Ohio." My phone rang. "Dad," I answered. "Hi. Your sister lost the blue folder. It was on the dining room table yesterday. I'm looking at the dining room table. Is it under the insurance folder?" "What insurance folder?" "The manila one. There are 6 manila folders." I pictured the table. Sympathy cards at one end, unopened mail at the other, a bowl of wax fruit Mom refused to throw away because it had been a wedding gift. Checked the chair nearest the window. Papers rustled. "No. Did you look under the chair? I'm not getting on the floor." "Then ask Vanessa." She went to work. Of course she had. Dad's breath crackled against the receiver. The pharmacy called. "They said I need to pick up my medication, but I don't know which one. Your medication isn't in Mom's hospice binder." "How do you know?" "Because I made it." A silence followed, different from the others. "You made it?" he asked. "Yes." "I thought Vanessa did." I looked at her post, still open on the counter. "No," I said. "Vanessa didn't." Dad cleared his throat. "Well, it doesn't matter who made it if nobody can find it." There it was. Credit vanished the moment it started moving in my direction. What did the pharmacy say was ready? I don't remember. "Call them back. Can't you?" "I don't know your prescription number. You've called for me before." "I'm working, Dad. So am I supposed to go without my pills?" Daniel's eyes met mine. "No. You're supposed to call the pharmacy and ask what's ready." Dad sighed. "You make everything sound simple. It is simple. Maybe for you. The old compliment, the old handle." I closed my eyes, but I did not take it. "Call the pharmacy," I said. "If you still need help after that, call me back." He hung up without saying goodbye. My stomach tightened immediately. I pictured him confused at the counter, taking the wrong bottle, skipping something important. I pictured Vanessa telling Aunt Rosemary I had refused to help him 3 days after Mom's funeral. Daniel poured coffee into my mug. "Don't," he said. "I didn't do anything." "You're about to." I put both hands around the mug. At 11:30, Dad texted me a photograph of the blue binder. "Found it," he wrote. No apology, no explanation. A minute later, another message arrived. "Pharmacy delivers. Vanessa says Mom set that up." I stared at the words. Then I typed, "I set it up." My thumb hovered over send. I deleted the sentence and wrote, "Good. Now you know for next time." Dad responded with a thumbs up that looked cheerful enough to be sarcastic. I put the phone away and opened the spreadsheet I had been pretending to study for 10 minutes. At work, I managed installation schedules for a company that made commercial refrigeration systems. It was not glamorous, but it rewarded the part of my brain that liked knowing where things belonged: compressors, wiring harnesses, freight windows, technicians. If a restaurant in Indianapolis expected 2 walk-in freezers on April 9th, I could tell them which loading dock the equipment would leave from and whether the driver had clearance for the alley. People called me organized. Nobody at work had ever said it like an accusation. My supervisor, Noah, appeared beside my cubicle, holding a mug that said, "This meeting could have been a taco." "How are you doing?" he asked. "I'm here. I can see that. It's unsettling. I needed something normal. You have 11 unused bereavement hours. That's a strange number. The payroll system is a strange and hostile land. I'm okay." Noah glanced at the spreadsheet, then at me. "You've been on the same cell since I walked over. I'm thinking deeply about refrigeration. Go home if you need to." "I don't need to." My phone vibrated inside my desk drawer. I did not look at it. Noah tapped the partition twice and walked away. It vibrated again. Vanessa had sent me a photograph of Mom's wooden jewelry box open on the bed. "Going through this tonight. Anything you specifically want besides the ring?" The question looked generous. It also established that everything else was hers to distribute. I typed, "Don't do it without me." Her answer came immediately. "When are you coming?" I looked at my calendar. Saturday had been empty except for dinner with Daniel's friends, a couple we had canceled on twice during Mom's last month. "I can come Sunday." "That's 6 days away. Dad wants the room cleared." I called him. He answered with, "I didn't say cleared. Vanessa says you want Mom's room cleared." I said, "I don't want it sitting like a museum. It's been 3 days. I know how long it's been. Then why is she going through the jewelry tonight? I don't know what Vanessa does. Ask Vanessa." I did. "She worries things won't get done." The sentence was almost funny. "Tell her to wait until Sunday. I'm not getting in the middle. You're already in the middle. It's your bedroom." It was our bedroom. His voice cracked. Mine softened. "Dad." I went in there last night and her slippers were next to the bed. I pictured the slippers. Tan suede, collapsed at the heel because Mom never put them on properly. "I can come Saturday morning," I said. The words were out before I consulted the rest of my life. "Saturday's fine," he said. When I told Daniel, he sat very still at the dinner table. "We'll be back for dinner," I added. "We? I thought you'd come." "Why?" "To support me." "Do you need support or do you need a witness because you know your family behaves better when I'm there?" I pushed peas around my plate. He set down his fork. "I'll come if you need me. I need you. Then I'll come." His agreement did not feel like winning. Saturday morning, the house was loud with vacuuming. Vanessa had moved the funeral flowers onto the enclosed porch where the colder air kept them standing but could not hide the smell. Dad was wearing a plaid shirt Mom would have ironed. One collar point curled upward like a question mark. "You're late," Vanessa called over the vacuum. "It's 9:58. We said 10. Daniel looked at his watch. "I'll try to drive faster next time." Vanessa switched off the vacuum. I was kidding. So was I. They smiled at each other without warmth. Upstairs, Mom's jewelry had been spread across a bath towel on the bed. Necklaces lay in careful lines, clip-on earrings, costume brooches, 2 watches that no longer ran. The nicer pieces had been placed near Vanessa's side of the mattress. She picked up a gold bracelet. Dad said we should divide things fairly. What does fairly mean? One at a time. Who goes first? You can. She said it quickly, and I was ashamed of how much it disarmed me. I chose a silver pin shaped like a leaf. Mom had worn it to my college graduation because I told her silver looked better with her blue dress. She complained all morning that it left a hole in the fabric, but in every photograph her hand was touching it. Vanessa chose the gold bracelet. I chose a pair of cheap red earrings. Vanessa looked at me. Those hurt her ears. I know. She complained every Christmas. She wore them because you gave them to her. I know. We went back and forth. She took the pearl necklace from the funeral portrait, a diamond pendant Dad had given Mom on their 30th anniversary, and a heavy gold ring from Aunt Rosemary. I took a green glass brooch, Mom's old Timex, and a tangled chain with a tiny enamel strawberry. Daniel leaned in the doorway, wisely silent. When we finished, Vanessa looked at my pile. You could have chosen valuable things. I did. Her face tightened. That isn't what I meant. I know. Dad came in carrying a cardboard box. His gaze landed on the towel and he stopped. Did your mother really have all that? She wore it, Vanessa said. I never paid attention. I expected her to make a joke. Instead, she picked up the diamond pendant and held it out. You gave her this. He stared at it. Did I? For your anniversary. Which one? The 30th. He touched the pendant with one finger. She said it was too much. She wore it to dinner that night. I don't remember. Vanessa closed her hand around it. Her mouth went thin. Dad set the box on the floor. These are thank you cards. Rosemary says they should go out soon. There were at least 60 envelopes inside. Are they written? I asked. Some. Vanessa took the box. I started them. Each card had the same message in her handwriting. Thank you for your kindness during this difficult time. Mom was blessed to be so loved. Vanessa. You only signed your name, I said. I didn't know if Dad wanted to sign. What about me? She looked genuinely confused. You can add your name. To 60 cards you already wrote? I was trying to help. No, you were trying to claim the thank you cards. Daniel shifted in the doorway. Vanessa's voice sharpened. Do you hear yourself? Yes. Good. Because this is becoming bizarre. They're cards, Claire. Then you finish them. I wrote the messages. You didn't address the envelopes. That's the time-consuming part. There it was. Dad lowered himself onto the edge of the bed. Can we please not do this over stationery? Vanessa dropped the box beside him. Fine. I'll address them. Apparently every task now requires a hearing. Fine. Daniel raised a finger. I'm going downstairs. Neither of us acknowledged him. Dad rubbed his palms over his thighs. Claire has the addresses. I don't have everybody's address. You had the Christmas card list. Mom had the Christmas card list. Vanessa said, it might be in the desk. I'll look, Dad said quickly. He did not move. Vanessa picked up the box again. Can you at least find the list? I wanted to say no. Instead, I found it in 7 minutes, tucked inside an envelope labeled 2021 stamps, because Mom believed rubber bands damaged paper. I handed the list to Vanessa. Thank you, she said. You're welcome. The exchange was so civilized it felt obscene. Before we left the room, Vanessa opened Mom's closet and pulled out a dry cleaning bag. Her funeral dress, she said. The navy suit inside was the one Mom had worn to Vanessa's second wedding. I had dropped it at the funeral home 4 days earlier. I thought they kept the clothes, I said. They cut them in back. Dad looked toward the hallway. Put that away. Vanessa did. He stood too fast, bumping the cardboard box with his knee. Cards spilled across the carpet. He stared down at them, helpless. Both Vanessa and I knelt. Our heads nearly collided. Sorry, she muttered. Me too. We gathered the cards while Dad left the room. At noon, I heated soup for him. At 12:30, I changed the batteries in the thermostat because he said the display looked dim. At 1, I found the online password for the electric company in Mom's address book under L, for lights. Vanessa sat at the table addressing envelopes and occasionally asking me how to spell the names of people she had thanked. Daniel washed our soup bowls. "We should go soon," he said. Dad glanced at the clock. "You just got here." "We've been here 3 hours," I said. "I thought you'd stay for dinner. We have plans." "With who?" "Friends." He frowned as if friends were an elective expense. "I don't know what I'm supposed to eat. There's soup. I had soup for lunch. Vanessa can help you." Vanessa looked up from the cards. "I have to leave by 4. Dad stared at both of us. "So everybody's leaving." I started listing options. Frozen lasagna, sandwiches, takeout from the Italian place. My voice grew bright and practical. If I made enough options, maybe none of them would sound like departure. Daniel dried his hands. "Martin," he said, "what do you feel like eating?" Dad blinked at him. "I don't know." "Then when you get hungry, decide." It was not rude. That made it more shocking. Dad looked at me, waiting for translation. I said, "You can decide later." He leaned back in his chair. "Your mother always planned dinner." No one answered. Vanessa's pen scratched across an envelope. On the drive home, Daniel waited until we reached the highway. "You said you needed me to support you. You did." "I watched you become the thermostat technician, utility clerk, short order cook, and family archivist. I told Vanessa to finish the cards. That was good. Don't sound surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm tired. So am I. Then why do you act like being tired is proof you did the right thing?" The question hit harder than I expected. I turned toward the window. Flat fields passed beneath a white sky. Corn stalks from the previous fall stood broken in rows, everything exposed. "We buried her 6 days ago," I said. "I know. You keep talking like I should be fixed already. I don't want you fixed. I want you allowed to be broken without cleaning everybody else's mess while you do it." I folded my arms. He drove another mile. "I'm sorry," he said. "No, you're not. I'm sorry it hurt. I'm not sorry I said it." We arrived at dinner 20 minutes late. Our friends hugged me, asked no questions, and poured wine. I spent the first half hour waiting for my phone to ring. At 7:16 it did. Dad. I let it buzz 3 times beneath the table. Daniel said nothing. On the 4th ring, I answered. "Hi, Dad. The television says there's no signal." I looked across the table at 3 adults trying not to listen. "Did you check the cable box?" "What cable box?" "The black box under the television. There are 2 black boxes. Try turning them both off, then back on. I'll lose all your mother's recordings." "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because I had fixed it before. Because I had set up the remote. Because I knew which black box had a blue light and which one had a green one. Because knowing was the trap, and love kept baiting it." "Call the cable company," I said. "At this hour?" "The number's on the bill." "What bill?" I looked at Daniel. He held my gaze. "I can't do this right now, Dad." Silence. "Can't do what?" "Fix the television. I'm not asking you to drive here. I'm at dinner." "Well, excuse me." The line went dead. I set my phone face down. Our friend Paul lifted the wine bottle. "More?" "Yes," I said. My phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. "Dad says you snapped at him because he asked a simple question. I read it once. Then I turned off the phone. It felt less like freedom than unplugging a smoke alarm because I was tired of the noise. I kept expecting the phone to light up anyway. Paul asked me about a refrigeration project in Indianapolis, and I gave him a 7-minute answer involving a loading dock and a city permit nobody wanted to hear about. His wife, Nina, nodded as though commercial compressors were fascinating. Daniel poured me half a glass more and shifted the bread basket in my direction. Nobody said family. At 10:30 in our bedroom, I turned the phone back on. 9 texts and 3 voicemails arrived in a rush. The first 4 texts were from Vanessa. He called me. "I'm trying to finish the cards. You could have just told him which box. Never mind, I fixed it. The 5th was from Dad. TV works. The rest were photographs Aunt Rosemary had sent of floral arrangements she wanted us to identify before she donated them. I opened Dad's voicemail first. Claire, it's your father. I don't know what happened to you tonight. I asked a simple question, and you acted like I was asking you to build a television. Forget it. Vanessa figured it out. The second voicemail was 4 minutes later. It was the silver remote, not the black one. You told me black. Anyway, it's working. The third was Elaine. Hi, Claire. No need to call back tonight. I just wanted to check on you. Funerals are strange days, and yours looks stranger than most. Your mom talked about you a lot. I hope you know that. Get some sleep. I listened twice. Daniel came out of the bathroom, brushing his teeth. Anything on fire? The television is fixed. He raised both arms in triumph, toothbrush pointing at the ceiling. Vanessa had to do it. He lowered one arm and kept the other up. I played Elaine's voicemail. Daniel spit, rinsed, and sat on the bed beside me. Call her tomorrow, he said. I don't know what I'd say. Thank you? For what? For saying your name in public. It caused more family movement than the invention of electricity. I put the phone on the nightstand. Vanessa thinks I'm punishing her. Are you? The answer came too quickly. No. He waited. Maybe a little, I said. Not on purpose. You can be angry on purpose. I am angry. You're efficient. That's not the same thing. I turned off the lamp. In the dark, Daniel found my hand beneath the blanket. His thumb moved across my knuckles, catching on the pale mark where I had tried on Mom's ring after we got home from the funeral. It fit my middle finger, not my ring finger. I had taken it off immediately. I don't want to become somebody who keeps score, I said. Claire, you have the most accurate score in 3 counties. You just keep erasing it for everybody. I let go of his hand. He sighed. That one was too clever. It was. I'm sorry. Go to sleep. At 6:40 the next morning, Dad called to ask whether Mom had ever frozen bread. I stared at the ceiling while he explained that he had found 2 loaves in the basement freezer and did not know if they were still good. Is there a date on them? I asked. One says January. Then it's fine. The other says wheat. That's not a date. I know that. His irritation restored something familiar between us. For a moment, he sounded like Dad rather than a man standing in the wreckage of his own routines. Toast a slice, I said. If it tastes bad, throw it out. You can tell by tasting? That's usually how food works. He laughed. I did too. Then he said, Vanessa told me you shut your phone off. The laugh disappeared. I was at dinner. You never did that when your mother was sick. You're not sick. I didn't say I was. What did you call for last night? I had no television in an empty house. There it was, not the remote, not the cable box, the empty house. My anger loosened in spite of me. I'm sorry, I said. I'm not trying to bother you. I know. I don't know what she did all day. Who? Your mother. All these little things. The mail came, and there were 3 envelopes that looked important. One might be a bill, but it says explanation, not invoice. Who explained something for 3 pages? Insurance companies. She understood it. Yes. What am I supposed to do with it? Put anything you're unsure about in one place. We'll look at it Sunday. We? Vanessa and I. He was quiet long enough for me to know he had heard the distinction. All right, he said. I called Elaine at lunch from my car. She answered. How's your back? What? That recliner. Oh, better. Liar. I smiled and leaned my head against the seat. Rain threaded down the windshield, turning the office parking lot into a gray watercolor. Thank you for coming, I said. I wanted to. And for the pouch. There was a pause. Did you open it? Yes. What did she give you? I looked at the ring, her wedding ring, a key to her recipe box, and instructions. What kind of instructions? To help Dad. Elaine exhaled through her nose. What? Nothing. You did that thing at the luncheon too. What thing? The hospice silence. That's a patented technique. You should sell it. I already work in American healthcare. We sell everything." I laughed, and the laugh caught in my throat. Elaine waited. "I thought she might have written something else," I said. "Such as, I don't know, something about me. She gave it to you. She gave me Dad." Diane worried about him. "I know. She also took you for granted." The words made my face hot. Elaine continued before I could answer. "Those can both be true. I should go back to work, then go. You make it sound simple. Most hard things sound simple. Drink less. Leave the room. Tell the truth. Doesn't make them easy." I watched Noah cross the parking lot beneath a taco-patterned umbrella. Did Mom really talk about me? All the time. What did she say? Elaine's voice softened. "That's a coffee conversation, not a parking lot conversation." The answer annoyed me. It also gave me something I had not realized I wanted later. We agreed to meet the following week. When I returned to my desk, Vanessa had sent a group message to Dad and me. "Father Brennan needs a date for Mom's memorial mass. First Saturday next month? I'll handle the church." Dad responded, "Whatever you girls want." I wrote, "Works for me." Vanessa added, "Claire, can you make sure Rosemary tells everyone?" I typed, "You're handling it. Send her the date once you confirm." 3 dots pulsed for almost a minute. Fine. The word followed me through the afternoon. On Sunday, Dad's dining table held 23 pieces of mail in a neat stack and 1 spoon. "Why is there a spoon?" I asked. It was in my pocket. "Why?" I had yogurt. He said this as if I had asked something intrusive. Vanessa sat across from him with her laptop open. She wore a camel-colored sweater and gold hoop earrings. Her grief had become more presentable. "I finished the thank you cards," she said. "Great. They're by the door." "Okay. You're not going to check them?" "No." "What if I missed somebody? Then they'll survive." Dad opened an insurance statement. "This says we may owe $480. It says that's what the insurance adjustment was." "What does that mean?" "It means you don't owe it." "Are you sure?" "Yes." "Maybe call them. You can call if you want." Vanessa looked over her laptop. "Why are you talking to him like that?" "Like what?" "Like he's bothering you." I answered his question. "You answered it and then made him feel stupid for asking." Dad folded the statement. "I don't feel stupid." Neither of us believed him. I pulled the chair beside him closer. "I'm sorry. Show me the others." Vanessa returned to her laptop, having won without appearing to play. We went through the mail. Dad had already opened everything and marked each envelope with the date it arrived. He knew which bills were on automatic payment. He had called the bank himself to report Mom's death and had written the representative's name in block letters on a yellow pad. "You did all this?" I asked. "I'm not helpless. No one said you were. You act surprised." He was right. Vanessa closed her laptop. "I need both of you to look at the obituary invoice." The newspaper charged extra for the photograph. "You approved the photograph," I said. "I didn't know it was $60. "Then pay the invoice from Dad's account." She pushed it toward me. "Can you do it? You're handling the estate paperwork. This isn't estate paperwork. It's a bill. It's a bill for Mom's funeral." "Why are you making every single thing a test?" Dad rubbed his forehead. I slid the invoice back. "I'm not. You are. The oxygen pickup, the thank you cards, the church." I say one thing, and you wait to see if I fail. I'm waiting to see if you do what you said you'd do. Vanessa's chair scraped backward. Dad said, "Not here." "Where, Dad?" she asked. "Where are we allowed to say anything in this family?" He stared at the yellow pad. She looked at me. "Do you want an apology for the funeral?" The room went very still. "For what part?" I asked. Her eyes narrowed. "There. That." "You said you cared for Mom alone." I said it felt lonely. You said both. I was speaking emotionally to 40 people. She lived in my house. It was Mom's house. I was the one waking up there every day, and I was the one driving there every night. You chose to live 2 hours away. The sentence struck with an old, practiced force. It was not only about Mom. It was about every holiday, every emergency, every accusation. That distance was a form of disloyalty. Dad stood. Enough. Vanessa snatched the obituary invoice from the table. Fine, I'll pay it. Good, I said. Her eyes filled. I hated that mine did too. She shoved the laptop into her bag. You know what? Maybe you should handle the memorial mass, since apparently nothing I do counts. You said you'd handle it. I changed my mind. Then call Father Brennan and tell him. She laughed without humor. This is what you want, right? For me to admit I can't do anything? No. I want you to do one thing without handing me the last 90%. Dad flinched as if I had raised my hand. Vanessa went to the front hall. A moment later, the door slammed. I stayed at the table, breathing hard. Dad picked up the spoon and turned it between his fingers. She did the best she could with your mother, he said. So did I. I know. No, Dad. You know I helped. He looked at me then. I had used his word deliberately. We both heard it. The phone rang in the kitchen. He did not answer. After 4 rings, the machine picked up. Father Brennan's voice filled the house. Martin, hello. I'm calling because Vanessa mentioned the first Saturday, but the church is already booked that morning. We'll need another date for Diane's memorial. Dad looked toward the front door Vanessa had slammed. Then he looked at me. I did not move. Dad waited until the answering machine clicked off. Somebody should call him back, he said. Yes. He looked at me. The number's on the caller ID, I said. I don't know what date works for everybody. Ask for 2 or 3 options. Then text us. You're better at this. I'm not a priest. You know what I mean? I did. I was better at pressing buttons, comparing calendars, remembering Aunt Rosemary did not drive after dark, and predicting that Cousin Jill would object to a weekday while offering no alternative. None of those abilities had been bestowed by God. I had learned them because whenever something went wrong, everybody looked at me. Dad picked up the yellow pad and set it down again. You're really going to sit there and make me call? No. I'm going home. His head lifted. We haven't had lunch. I'm not hungry. I am. The honesty almost made me stay. There's turkey in the refrigerator, I said, and soup. I had soup yesterday. Then make a sandwich. He stared at the spoon in his hand. I put on my coat. Claire? I stopped in the doorway. Your sister is hurting. So am I. You've always been stronger. The praise slid neatly around my throat. I have to go, I said. Dad followed me to the front hall. He did not try to stop me again. He only stood beside the condolence cards while I put on my shoes. Your mother hated eating alone, he said. I tied the left shoe twice because my fingers had started shaking. Then call Vanessa, I said. He flinched. I drove 17 minutes before pulling into a gas station. I parked beside an air pump and cried hard enough to make my ribs hurt. Daniel answered on the second ring. Where are you? At a gas station. Do you need me to come get you? No. Did something happen? Dad's hungry. Daniel was silent for a moment. Okay, I left him there. Is there food in the house? Yes. Does he know how to put it in his mouth? Don't. I'm sorry. He said Mom hated eating alone. That wasn't about lunch. I know. A pickup truck pulled beside the air pump. The driver glanced at me, saw my face, and suddenly became very interested in his tire pressure. I feel horrible, I said. You feel guilty. What's the difference? One means you did something wrong. I wiped my nose on a drive-through napkin. He's grieving. So are you. You keep saying that like it cancels his grief. No. I keep saying it because everyone else does. We stayed on the phone until the pickup left and I could breathe without making a sound. Dad called Father Brennan himself. He sent us 3 possible dates that evening, followed by a separate text informing us that he had eaten turkey. I chose the second Sunday. Vanessa responded 4 hours later with a check mark. No one mentioned the argument. The family group message became aggressively practical. Aunt Rosemary asked whether the memorial program should include a photograph. Vanessa said she had plenty. Dad wanted the one where Diane looked like Diane, which eliminated every photograph by being both impossible and completely clear. I did not volunteer to choose. At Coffee with Elaine, I arrived 10 minutes early and still found her waiting in a booth. She wore bright red glasses I had never seen before and had ordered 2 slices of lemon cake. "I didn't know what you liked," she said, "so I got what I liked twice." The diner was nearly empty. A ceiling fan turned lazily above us, though the day was cold. Elaine pushed a plate toward me. "You look tired. I'm becoming offended by how many people say that. Then sleep more." "We'll say you look rested." I smiled and picked at the icing with my fork. "You said Mom talked about me." "She did." "What did she say?" "That you drove too fast." "I do not. She said you treated the turnpike like a personal challenge. That was Dad. She also said you could fix anything." I laughed. That was definitely Dad. "She told me you repaired the porch screen with dental floss when you were 12. I was 34. We didn't have wire. She made you 12. Mom froze our ages when Vanessa turned 30. After that, we were children with mortgages." Elaine drank her coffee. "What else?" I asked. "She worried you weren't eating. She worried about your drive home. She thought your husband was too quiet." "Daniel is quiet around my family. She said he judged the furniture. He judges their recliner. It is an ugly recliner. It's also, apparently, where I slept for 18 months. Elaine's mouth tightened. "I didn't mean you made that up," she said. "I know, I shouldn't have said it like that at the luncheon." "Why not?" "Because I put you in a difficult position. I was already in one." She studied me through the red frames. "Your sister looked like she wanted to stab me with a serving spoon. It would have been a plastic fork. The spoons were by the coffee. That family organizational instinct. I ate a bite of cake." "Why did you always call me?" I asked. "When?" "At night. If Vanessa lived there, why did hospice call me?" Elaine traced the rim of her cup. "At first, we called the house." "And?" "Sometimes Vanessa answered. Sometimes your father did. Your mother usually asked for you." "That isn't what I asked." "I know. I waited." "Vanessa turned her phone off at night," Elaine said. "Your father slept through his. You answered. She had work, so did you. I'm not defending her. You do it like breathing." The fork scraped my plate. Elaine leaned back. "Vanessa did things. She cleaned. She ordered supplies. She sat with your mother some mornings." "I know." "She also left the room when care got physical. That doesn't make her evil." "I know. It made you tired." I looked toward the counter where a waitress was refilling sugar dispensers one by one. "Mom never called her out." "No, Dad doesn't either." "No." "Why?" Elaine considered the question seriously. Maybe they knew she'd leave. The answer landed with a quiet force. "And they knew I wouldn't," I said. "I don't know your family well enough to say that." "Yes, you do." She did not argue. When we left, Elaine hugged me beside my car and told me to call for reasons other than emergencies. I promised, because promises were easy in parking lots. Dad's first attempt at handling the house lasted less than a week. He called Tuesday because the washing machine stopped in the middle. He had selected the soak cycle. On Wednesday, he could not find a clean fitted sheet because Mom had stored bedding inside matching pillowcases, and he thought the bundles were decorative. Thursday, he ate cereal for dinner and told Aunt Rosemary, who told Vanessa, who called me. "He needs somebody checking on him," Vanessa said. "We check on him every day. Phone calls aren't enough." "Then go over." I was there Monday. I was there Sunday. "He can't live on sandwiches. He can cook. He doesn't." "That's different." Vanessa exhaled loudly. "Why does everything have to become a philosophical debate with you now? Because you keep presenting preferences as emergencies. He's 72 and just lost his wife. I know how old Dad is." "Then act like it." I hung up before I could answer. That night, I found a local home care service online. They offered meal preparation, light housekeeping, errands, and companionship in 4-hour blocks. I filled out the contact form, then stared at the submit button. Daniel came up behind me. "What are you doing?" "Looking at help for Dad." "Did he ask?" No, did Vanessa. She says he needs somebody. Somebody. I turned in the chair. What's that supposed to mean? It means she says somebody when she means you. Well, this wouldn't be me. No, it would be you arranging, interviewing, scheduling, paying, monitoring, and apologizing for another person doing it. I'm trying to solve a problem. Whose problem? Dad's. Ask him if he thinks he has one. I called him before I could lose my nerve. Dad listened while I described the service. Companionship? He said. I'm not a Labrador. They can cook a few meals, help with laundry, run errands. I know how to do laundry. The soak cycle says otherwise. The machine is too complicated. We can find somebody for one afternoon a week and have a stranger going through my drawers. They're not going through your drawers. How much? I told him. For making soup for 4 hours. Your mother did it all day for free. I closed my eyes. Mom was your wife. I know who she was. Then don't compare her to hired help. Dad went quiet. I didn't mean it that way, he said. Yes, you did. Another silence. Then, unexpectedly, he said, You're right. I looked at Daniel. He raised his eyebrows. Dad cleared his throat. One afternoon. We'll see. The woman the agency sent was named Marlene, 63, with silver braids and a laugh loud enough to disturb the neighbors. She called Dad Martin, which he disliked for the first 20 minutes, and then began encouraging by telling stories about his years selling restaurant equipment. She made chicken and rice, changed the sheets, and beat him twice at gin rummy. He called me after she left. She cheats, he said, then requests somebody honest. No, she's fine. Did she go through your drawers? Only the silverware. He sounded pleased. For 3 weeks, Marlene came every Thursday. Dad complained about the price and saved half her chicken soup for later. He showed her Mom's garden, though nothing had started growing, and let her reorganize the pantry after insisting Mom's system made perfect sense. Vanessa called the arrangement a great solution in the family group chat. Dad told Aunt Rosemary it had been Vanessa's idea. I read the message and felt the old anger rise. Then I let it pass. At the end of the 3rd Thursday, Marlene called me instead of Dad. He canceled next week, she said. Why? He says he doesn't need a babysitter. What happened? Nothing happened. We made meatloaf. He won. At cards? Eventually. I called Dad. It's too expensive, he said. I'm paying for it. That makes it worse. You like Marlene. She moves things. She labels where she puts them. I don't need labels in my own house. Dad, I'm doing fine. Behind his voice, I heard the television and the hollow acoustics of the living room. You've been eating better. I can feed myself. You weren't. That doesn't mean I can't. The distinction sounded familiar. I pressed my hand to my forehead. Please don't cancel. It's canceled. What are you trying to prove? That I'm not helpless. No one said you were. You all keep arranging my life like I'm not in it. I had no answer for that. He softened. I appreciate what you did, honey. I do. But I'm your father. Let me decide. So I did. 2 days later, Dad fell in the kitchen. Vanessa called while I was buying shampoo. Dad's in the hospital. The bottle slipped from my hand and struck the cart. What happened? He fell. Where? In the kitchen. I mean, where is he now? St. Matthew's. Emergency room. Is he conscious? Yes. Did he hit his head? I don't know, Claire. I'm driving. The line went dead. I left the cart beside the toothpaste and ran out of the store with nothing. Daniel was replacing a porch light when I pulled into our driveway. He came down the ladder before I stopped the car. What happened? My dad fell. He put the ladder on its side, grabbed his coat, and got in. I called the hospital twice on the drive. Both times, the emergency department told me they could not provide information without Dad's permission. Vanessa did not answer. Neither did Dad. The turnpike stretched ahead of us, wet and silver. I should have called Marlene, I said. Daniel kept his eyes on the road. Why? To ask what happened when Dad canceled. You know what happened. He canceled. Maybe she noticed something. Like what? Dizziness. Weakness. I don't know. You're not a detective. I arranged the service, and he canceled it. I let him. Daniel glanced at me. He's an adult. He fell 2 days later. Both things can be true. I hated when other people used Elaine's sentences. St. Matthew's had renovated its emergency department since Mom's first surgery. The waiting room now featured fake wood, gray chairs, and a wall fountain that made everyone need the bathroom. Vanessa stood near the reception desk in a cream coat. Her hair was twisted into a low knot. She looked composed enough to have been notified of a delayed flight. "He's getting x-rays," she said. "Of what?" "His hip and wrist. They did a CT of his head." "Why didn't you answer?" "I was talking to the doctor. How long was he on the floor?" "Maybe 20 minutes. "Maybe?" "He doesn't know exactly. Who called the ambulance?" "He did." Relief hit me so hard I had to sit. Daniel touched my shoulder, then stepped toward the vending machines without asking. He had learned there were moments when being near me meant standing farther away. "Why did he fall?" I asked. "He says he tripped over the kitchen mat. Mom threw out the kitchen mat. He bought another one." "What kind?" Vanessa stared at me. "I didn't request the make and model." "Was he dizzy?" "He says no." "Had he eaten?" "I don't know." "Did you ask?" "Yes, Claire. I asked questions. I didn't just drive here and admire the fountain." A woman at reception looked up. I lowered my voice. "I'm trying to understand. So am I." Her hands were shaking. I had not noticed until then because she'd gripped her purse strap with both of them. I stood and hugged her. For half a second, she stayed stiff. Then she folded against me. "He sounded so old," she whispered. "On the phone. I thought he'd broken his neck." "I know. No, you don't. He called me first." The words came out wet and muffled against my coat. I pulled back. She wiped beneath her eyes with her knuckles. "He never calls me first." I could have told her that his recent calls to me were about bread and remote controls, not declarations of love. I could have told her being first mostly meant being available for panic. Instead, I said, "He knew you were closer." The explanation disappointed both of us. A nurse called Family of Martin Mercer, and we stood at the same time. Dad looked shrunken in the hospital bed. His plaid shirt and jeans were in a plastic bag beneath the chair. He wore a gown tied badly at one shoulder, yellow socks with rubber treads, and a purple bruise on his left wrist. A thin line of dried blood marked his temple. "Well," he said. "This is ridiculous." I kissed his cheek. "You scared us. I tripped. Did you lose consciousness?" "No." "Were you dizzy?" "No." "When did you last eat?" He looked at Vanessa. "See? She already asked," she said. Dad's blood pressure had dropped when he stood, but the doctor thought dehydration contributed. Nothing was broken. His wrist was sprained, his hip bruised, and the cut near his hairline had been closed with 2 narrow strips. The emergency physician, a tired man named Dr. Patel, asked how Dad managed at home. "He's independent," I said. Vanessa said, "I've been taking care of him." We spoke at the same time. Dr. Patel looked between us. Vanessa continued, "Our mom died recently. I was her primary caregiver too, so I've been trying to keep an eye on Dad. There it was again, not alone this time. Primary." My body prepared itself before my mind did. My shoulders tightened, my mouth opened. I could already hear the correction. I arranged his meals. I set up the delivery. I found Marlene. I drove 4 hours every weekend while you posted photographs and signed cards. Then Dr. Patel asked, "Can he stay with you for a few days?" Vanessa looked at me. I closed my mouth. "I have a guest room," she said. Dad frowned. "I'm going home." "Not tonight," Vanessa said. "I have a house, and the house will be there. I sleep badly in your guest bed." "You've never slept in my guest bed." I sat on it. "It's too soft." Dr. Patel hid a smile behind his tablet. Vanessa put her purse on the chair. "Dad, you fell. You need somebody nearby until you're steady." "I am steady." You're in a bed with an alarm because you tried to walk to the bathroom. The alarm startled me. Because you were getting up. Because I had to use the bathroom. That's generally when people go. They argued with such familiar rhythm that something in me eased. Dr. Patel turned to me. What do you think? 3 people waited. Dad expected rescue from the soft guest bed. Vanessa expected help persuading him, followed by some practical arrangement that would eventually place him with me. The doctor expected a sensible answer from whichever daughter looked sensible. I think he should stay with Vanessa, I said. Vanessa blinked. Dad stared at me. You do? She's closer to your doctor's, and she has a guest room. What about my things? Vanessa can get them. Vanessa's eyebrows rose. You know where everything is, I added. The words were not cruel. They were worse. They were trust. Dad shifted against the pillow. For how long? A few days, Vanessa said. Dr. Patel nodded. At least until your follow-up. If you're still having blood pressure drops, you shouldn't be alone. Then Claire could stay at my house. I looked at Dad. He said it casually, as if my life were a coat hanging by his door. I have work, I said. So does your sister. I know. He looked away. Vanessa rubbed her lips together, thinking. Then she straightened. He can stay with me as long as he needs, she said. Her voice had changed. It carried the polished certainty from the funeral luncheon, the tone that made promises sound like accomplished facts. Dr. Patel typed something. Good. That solves our immediate concern. I watched my sister absorb the praise. For the first time, I did not resent it. The discharge nurse arrived with instructions. Increase fluids. Stand slowly. Keep the wrist wrapped. Schedule a primary care appointment within 5 days. Watch for headache, confusion, vomiting, or unusual sleepiness. Vanessa took the papers. Usually I would have reached for them. She seemed to expect me to. I kept my hands in my coat pockets. Who should we list as the primary contact? The nurse asked. Dad said my name. Vanessa said hers. The nurse looked up. I'm 2 hours away, I said. Use Vanessa. My sister's eyes met mine. The nurse wrote it down. Dad needed clothes, so Vanessa handed me his house key. You can stop by, right? I looked at the key. I don't know what he needs. Pajamas, underwear, a toothbrush, normal things. You live 20 minutes from his house. I'm staying here. So am I. Her expression sharpened. Then who gets his things? Daniel stepped away from the wall. I can sit with Martin. Dad looked offended. I don't require sitting. I'll get the clothes, Vanessa said quickly. Claire, can you stay until I'm back? Yes. She put on her coat. Before leaving, she bent over Dad and kissed his forehead with real tenderness. Don't move, she told him. I've been commanded by professionals. I mean it. I know. After she left, Dad watched the door. She's upset, he said. We're all upset. She's had a hard time. I sat in the chair beside him. So have I. He touched the bandage on his wrist. I shouldn't have canceled that woman. No. I didn't fall because Marlene wasn't there. No. The mat bunched up. Okay. I bought it because the floor felt cold. You don't have to defend buying a mat. He picked at the edge of his blanket. You're angry. I was scared. You sounded angry. I can be both. He considered that. Your mother hated hospitals, he said. I know. She always knew what questions to ask. I know. I suppose you got that from her. The compliment had no request attached. I did not know what to do with it. Daniel returned with coffees. He gave me mine and sat on the windowsill. Dad looked at him. Your porch light fixed? Daniel smiled. Eventually. You need an LED. The good ones, not those blue things that make the house look like a gas station. They discussed light bulbs until Vanessa returned, carrying a duffel bag and a pair of Dad's shoes. She had packed 2 different loafers. Dad held them up. These don't match. They're both brown. One is cordovan. It was dark in your closet. I have a flashlight in the top drawer. I didn't know that. Claire knows. All 3 of them looked at me. I'm sure Vanessa can go back tomorrow, I said. Nobody spoke. I took a long drink of coffee. It was terrible and hot and exactly what I needed. Dad was discharged after 6. Vanessa pulled her SUV to the entrance while an orderly brought him out in a wheelchair. She buckled him into the passenger seat, tucked the discharge papers beside her purse, and lowered the radio when he complained. I stood on the curb with Daniel. Vanessa rolled down her window. "I'll call when we get home." "Okay. If he feels sick, should I call you or the hospital? The number is on the discharge papers." "I know. I'm just asking. Call the hospital." Her mouth tightened, but she nodded. Dad leaned across the console. "You'll come tomorrow?" I had planned to. I had already rearranged the day in my head. "No," I said. "I'll call." He looked hurt. Vanessa looked frightened. Then the car behind them honked, and she had to pull away. I watched the white SUV disappear toward the exit. Daniel stood beside me without touching me. "I could go after them," I said. "You could. I could help get him settled. You could." I waited for him to tell me what I should do. He did not. We walked to our car. My phone rang before we reached it. "Vanessa," I answered. "What happened?" "Nothing," she said. "Dad wants to know if you remember where Mom kept the extra non-slip socks." I looked back at the hospital doors. "In the blue binder," I said. "Home safety section. I didn't bring the binder. Then you'll have to buy socks." There was a long pause. "Okay," Vanessa said. And this time she did not ask me where. On the drive home, my phone stayed silent for 11 minutes. Then Dad called. "Your sister bought wool socks." I looked at Daniel. "Are they non-slip?" "They have dots." "Then they're fine." "They itch." "You've had them on for 5 minutes. I know whether wool itches." In the background, Vanessa said, "They're a blend." Dad covered the phone badly. "She says they're a blend." I heard her. "You didn't come in," he said. "No, I thought you might. You're safe with Vanessa." He was quiet. "Do you need something?" I asked. "No. Good night." "Good night, Dad." He hung up. The next morning, he called to report that Vanessa's coffee was too strong. 20 minutes later, she called to ask whether his blood pressure cuff always made that choking sound. Dad called at lunch because she had put mayonnaise on both sides of his sandwich. Vanessa called it too because he had walked into the background of her video meeting wearing one wool sock and one dress sock. "I told him I had a client presentation," she said. "Did he know you were on camera?" He waved. "That sounds like yes." "This isn't funny." "It's a little funny." He asked my regional director if he was old enough to shave. I laughed so hard I had to move the phone away. Vanessa did not. "Claire, I'm trying to work, so work. He needs things every 6 minutes." "What kind of things?" "Water, the remote, his charger, a different pillow. He says the guest room smells like candles." "It does." "You've never slept in there. I don't have to sleep inside a candle to smell one." She exhaled. "Can you come tomorrow?" I told him I'd call. I'm not asking for him. I'm asking for me. That stopped me. Vanessa did not ask for help directly. She created situations in which help appeared to be the only decent response. "What do you need?" I asked. 3 hours. I have meetings all afternoon." "Does Dad need somebody watching him? He's supposed to stand slowly. That isn't the same as supervision. What if he falls?" "Then maybe he shouldn't be at your house." Silence. "You agreed he should stay here," she said. "Yes." "Very convenient." "You offered." "Because somebody had to, and it was you, I'm aware." I looked at my work calendar. 3 meetings, 1 vendor call, a delivery problem in Louisville. Nothing that would look important inside a family argument. My work never did. "I can't come tomorrow," I said. "So that's it? Call Marlene." He fired her. "The agency has other people. He doesn't want a stranger. Then he can choose between a stranger and following you into video meetings. You make it sound so easy." There it was. I leaned back in my chair. "I'll visit Sunday. Sunday is 4 days away. I know." Vanessa ended the call without saying goodbye. Dad's follow-up appointment showed no serious injury. His blood pressure improved when he drank enough water. The doctor told him to use a cane temporarily, and Dad bought one with a silver handle that made him look like he owned a riverboat. He remained at Vanessa's house. Each day produced a new complaint. She did not fold towels correctly. He left cabinet doors open. She bought low-sodium soup that tasted like warm instruction. He turned the television volume to 38. She lowered it to 20. He raised it to 42 out of principle. When I called, they both tried to recruit me. "Tell her chicken has to brown," Dad said. "Tell him this is a nonstick pan," Vanessa shouted from the stove. "Chicken can brown in a nonstick pan. Whose side are you on?" I'm hanging up. At night, Dad became softer. "Your mother would have liked this guest room," he told me once. "I thought the bed was too soft. She liked soft. Then maybe that's why Vanessa bought it." "Maybe." He paused. "Vanessa works hard," he said. "Yes." I didn't know she had that many meetings. She has always worked hard. I thought she just told people what to do. That is a lot of her job. He laughed, then coughed. "Are you drinking water?" I asked. "Yes, nurse." The word bothered me more than it should have. At the first Sunday visit, Vanessa opened the door before I knocked. She wore no makeup and her hair had been secured with a chip clip. "Don't say anything," she whispered. "About what?" "The dining room." Dad had turned her polished dining table into an office. Insurance statements, pill bottles, mail, and 3 crossword puzzles covered the surface. His cane leaned against a chair upholstered in white fabric no human had previously been allowed to touch. "I needed room," he said. Vanessa stood behind him. "He has a desk in the guest room." "The chair hurts my back." "I bought that chair for you. You bought it online. I asked your measurements. You asked my height. What other measurement does a chair need?" Dad looked at me. "Tell her." "No?" Both of them stared. "I came to visit," I said, "not referee." I brought sandwiches from his favorite deli. Dad ate half a corned beef sandwich and wrapped the rest in a napkin for later. Vanessa ate standing at the counter because he had spread a bank statement across her place. After lunch, I took Dad for a walk. He used the cane reluctantly, swinging it ahead of him as if clearing weeds. The neighborhood was newer than his, all curved streets and young trees held upright by stakes. "I'm ready to go home," he said. "Then go home." "Your sister thinks I should stay. What do you think?" "I think she'll be offended." "Since when has that stopped you?" He smiled. Then his face changed. "I don't like the house empty." I waited. "The kitchen doesn't sound right," he said. "The refrigerator comes on, and I think your mother opened the door." Then I remember. His hand tightened around the silver handle. "You can restart the home care service," I said. "I don't need care. You need company. I have friends. Invite them over. Everybody talks to me like I'm gonna break. You did fall." I tripped. "I know." He looked down the long sidewalk. "Your mother knew how to leave me alone without making me feel alone. It was the loveliest thing I had ever heard him say about her." "You should tell Vanessa that," I said. "She'd take it personally. She might surprise you." He gave me a doubtful look. "Have you met your sister?" I laughed. When we returned, Vanessa was in the laundry room holding one of Dad's undershirts. He put this in with my white blouse. "They're both white," Dad said. "This is gray. It started white." She closed her eyes. I left at 5, though Vanessa asked if I could stay through dinner. The memorial mass almost disappeared beneath their domestic war. Aunt Rosemary called me on a Wednesday to ask why Father Brennan had not announced it in the bulletin. Vanessa was confirming the date, I said. The church secretary says nobody called. I opened the family group message. We had chosen the second Sunday. Vanessa had responded with a check mark. That was all. I called her. "Oh my God," she said. "I forgot. The second Sunday is 9 days away. I know what day it is. Call the church. I'm taking Dad to get his wrist checked. Call from the car." "Why can't you call?" "Because you're handling it." "This again." "No, not this again. Still this." She hung up. At 4, Aunt Rosemary texted that Father Brennan had found an opening at 4:30 in the afternoon. She included 6 exclamation marks and a prayer hands emoji that felt threatening. Vanessa posted the new time in the family group. "All handled," she wrote. I read the words until Daniel took the phone from me and put it in a drawer. The mass itself was small. Dad sat between us in the front pew, his wrist wrap removed, but the skin still yellow with bruising. Vanessa had chosen a photograph of Mom laughing at a picnic, her mouth open and one hand lifted to block the camera. Dad cried when he saw it. Afterward, people gathered in the vestibule with coffee and grocery store cookies. Aunt Rosemary hugged Vanessa. "You pulled it together beautifully," she said. Vanessa looked at me over Rosemary's shoulder. For a moment, I thought she might correct her. "Thank you," she said. I walked outside. She followed me into the parking lot. "Claire." I kept going. "Would it have killed you to smile?" I turned. "Would it have killed you to say Dad chose the date?" "Dad didn't call the church. He gave us the date, and I confirmed it. After Rosemary caught it." Her face tightened. "Why are you keeping a file on every mistake?" "I don't have to. You announce the corrections like there was never a mistake. You want me to humiliate myself every time I forget something? I want you to stop collecting praise for work everyone else finishes." A cold wind lifted the ends of her hair. She folded her arms. "You know what Dad said last night? He said you only visit when there's an audience now." The cruelty was precise enough that I knew it had come from her, not him. "Did he?" "He asks for you constantly." "But sure. Keep teaching us all a lesson." I stepped closer. "If he wants to go home, let him." "He doesn't." "He told me he does." "Then why hasn't he left?" "Because he's afraid you'll take it personally." Vanessa laughed. "Everything is my fault." "No, that's the problem. Somehow nothing ever is." Dad appeared in the vestibule doorway, leaning on his cane. "What are you two doing?" "Talking," Vanessa said. "I'm cold." She immediately went to him and zipped his coat to the neck. He complained that she was choking him. She loosened it, took his cane while he buttoned the bottom, then handed it back without dropping his coffee. I watched her manage all of it. She was tired, she was impatient, she was also there. That did not erase anything. It did make hating her inconvenient. She lasted another 11 days. Then she called at 6 in the morning. "I need you to take a turn," she said. I sat up in bed. "A turn doing what? With Dad? What happened?" "He was up at 4 because he heard a noise. He woke me to ask if my furnace always clicks. Then he decided he wanted oatmeal, but not instant oatmeal, so he started banging a pot around. I have a presentation at 8. Is he hurt?" "No." "Is he sick?" "No." "Then why are you calling at 6? "Because I can't do this anymore." Her voice broke on the last word. I swung my feet to the floor. "You told the doctor he could stay as long as he needed." I didn't know what that meant. "Yes, you did." "No, Claire." I knew what it sounded like. The honesty silenced me. In the background, Dad called, "Do you have raisins?" Vanessa covered the phone and shouted, "Look in the pantry." Then quietly she said, "Please take him for a week." I closed my eyes. "I'll come Sunday," I said, "but he's not coming home with me." Vanessa was quiet long enough for me to hear a cabinet slam in the background. What am I supposed to do until Sunday? Tell Dad he's going home. He can't be alone. Then restart Marlene. He won't. Those are his choices. No, those are your choices. His choice is to stay with family. Which family? She inhaled sharply. I regretted the question, but I did not withdraw it. "Forget it," she said. The call ended. Daniel was awake beside me, one arm behind his head. "You're staring," I said. "I'm waiting." "For what?" "For you to put on pants and start driving." I said Sunday. You've said a lot of things. I lay back down and pulled the blanket over my knees. "I'm not taking him." "Okay, that's all." "What do you want? A certificate?" "I want you to believe me. I do." "You just said you expected me to leave." I said I was waiting. I'm learning to separate my expectations from your decisions. That sounds like something from a very annoying therapist. She's excellent. "You told Marcy about this?" "I tell Marcy about you every Thursday at 4. I knew Daniel had started therapy during Mom's last month. I had not asked what they discussed because I suspected the answer would require something from me. He rolled toward me. "Are you okay?" he asked. No? Good. I nudged his shin with my foot. At 7:15, Dad called. Your sister says you won't let me stay with you. I said you're not coming to live with me. I don't want to live with you. Then we agree. I thought maybe a week. That's living with me for a week. I stayed with your grandmother after her surgery. You were retired. So Daniel and I both work. Vanessa works. And you've been at her house for over a month. 3 weeks. 25 days. Dad went silent. I heard a spoon strike a bowl. She's tired of me, he said. The anger went out of me so quickly it hurt. She's tired, I said. That isn't the same. I know when somebody wants me gone. I don't want you gone. You just said I can't come. Dad, I have to eat my oatmeal. He hung up. I sat with the phone against my ear until the empty line began beeping. Daniel got out of bed and handed me a tissue. I didn't cry, I said. You're about to. I'm not. Then save it for a festive occasion. Sunday arrived with sleet. Vanessa had packed Dad before we got there. His duffel bag stood beside the front door with the mismatched loafers tucked into the side pocket. A grocery bag held his prescriptions, crossword books, and the blood pressure cuff. Dad wore his coat indoors. I'm ready, he said. Where do you think you're going? His face changed. Vanessa came out of the kitchen carrying a travel mug. I told him you were taking him for the week. I told you I wasn't. You said you were coming Sunday to talk. You didn't say that. I said he wasn't coming home with me. Dad looked between us. I can hear you. Vanessa set down the mug hard enough to splash coffee through the lid. I have a 3-day conference in Chicago, she said. I leave tomorrow. You didn't mention that. I shouldn't have to present evidence that I need my own house back. No, but you should have told Dad the truth. I told him you were helping. You lied to him. I made a reasonable assumption. After I told you the opposite? Dad picked up the duffel. I'll go home. Vanessa and I both said, no. He dropped the bag. Then stop talking like I'm a sofa nobody ordered. His voice filled the foyer. Vanessa stepped back. I had never heard him shout at her. Neither had she, judging by her face. Dad opened his coat and let it hang loose. I have a house. I have a car. I have money. I am not asking either of you to wipe my chin. No one said you were, I said. You whisper about me while I'm standing here. You schedule people to watch me. You decide where I sleep. You fell. I tripped. Your blood pressure dropped. It's fine now. You weren't eating. I was eating. Cereal isn't dinner. Tell that to half the country. Vanessa sat on the bottom stair and pressed her fingers to her forehead. I took a breath. All right, I said. You can go home. Dad lifted his chin. With regular help. His expression closed. No. Then assisted living. Vanessa looked up. That's extreme. Not a nursing home. A place with an apartment, meals, transportation, people nearby. I know what assisted living is, Dad said. I sold equipment to those places. Then, you know, some are nice. I'm not living in one. Then hire help at home. I had help. She moved my canned goods. Marlene put the tomatoes with the tomatoes. She put beans on the bottom shelf. Call another agency. No. Then find your own person. I don't need a person. You do if you expect us to answer every time you can't work the television or don't want to eat alone. Dad's mouth opened. Vanessa said, Claire. No, we need to say it. You're being cruel. I'm being clear. She stood. He's grieving. So am I. You keep saying that like it excuses everything. I almost laughed. The accusation had traveled all the way around the room and come back wearing my coat. Dad picked up his cane. Your mother would never put me somewhere. Mom is dead. He flinched as if I had struck him. The sleet tapped the glass beside the door. Vanessa turned her face away. I wanted to pull the words back. I wanted to replace them with something soft and useless. I made myself continue. Mom is dead, I said again, quieter, and she left me a note telling me to help you. She didn't ask if I could. She didn't ask what it would cost. She knew I'd do it because I always do. Dad stared at me. Vanessa's head turned. What note? The one in the pouch. You never told me there was a note. It wasn't for you. What did it say? I looked at Dad. For Claire, who always knows what needs doing. Please help your father when I'm gone. His eyes filled. She was worried, he said. I know. She knew I'd be lost. I know. Then why are you using it against her? I'm not. I'm telling you what it did to me. Vanessa folded her arms around herself. You got her ring and a note. I got nothing. I looked at her. You got 2 months in her house. Her face hardened. Here we go. No, I'm not saying you used them well. I'm saying you had them. Dad sat heavily in the chair beside the door. I don't want to be a burden, he said. The phrase was familiar family theater. It usually required immediate denial. Neither Vanessa nor I spoke. His gaze moved between us. Well? What do you want us to say? I asked. That I'm not. You're our father. That doesn't make every need a burden. But refusing every solution except your daughter's does. Vanessa whispered, Jesus, Claire. Dad gripped the silver cane handle. I took care of both of you, he said. Yes. I worked 50-hour weeks. Yes, I paid for your college. Most of it. His eyes flashed. So now I get an invoice? No, you get daughters. You don't get employees because you raised us. The room went quiet. Somewhere in the back of the house, a clock chimed 10 times. Vanessa's travel mug dripped coffee onto her entry table. Dad's voice was hoarse. You've changed since the funeral. No, I got tired before the funeral. You only noticed when I stopped hiding it. He looked at Vanessa. Do you feel this way? She froze. It was the most honest question he had ever asked her, and I watched her decide whether honesty would cost her his love. I can't keep doing this, she said. Not every day. Dad's face folded inward. She rushed to him and knelt. I love you, she said. I do. But I can't work with you at my house. I can't sleep. I'm angry all the time, and then I hate myself for being angry. He looked at her as if she had begun speaking another language. She put her hand over his. Marlene was nice. She cheats. So cheat back. His mouth twitched. I sat on the floor opposite them because there were no chairs left that did not feel like positions in an argument. You can go home today, I said. I'll help set up regular visits, not one afternoon that you cancel after 3 weeks. Enough help to make it work. Who pays? You do. Vanessa shot me a look. Dad nodded slowly. Fair. And if you cancel it, that doesn't mean we replace it. What if I don't like the person? Request someone else? What if they move the beans? Move them back? His mouth twitched again. Vanessa leaned her head against his knee. He touched her hair awkwardly with his wrapped wrist. I'd like Marlene, he said. I called the agency from Vanessa's dining room. Marlene was available Mondays and Thursdays. Dad objected to 2 days. I said 2 days or we toured apartments. He chose Marlene. Vanessa unpacked the duffel while he watched, then repacked it because he was going home instead of staying. The same shirts went into the same bag. Only the meaning changed. I drove Dad to his house. Vanessa followed with his SUV, then left for her own home after returning the key. She hugged him at the door and promised to call from Chicago. Inside, the house smelled cold. Dad stood in the kitchen staring at the mat that had bunched beneath his foot. Throw it away, he said. I rolled it up and put it in the garage. He opened the refrigerator. There's nothing to eat. There's food, nothing ready. Marlene comes tomorrow. What about tonight? I looked at him. He looked back. This was the moment, the ordinary little hinge on which everything turned. There are frozen meals, I said. Or you can order something. You're not staying? No. His face tightened. Then he opened the freezer. What's this? He asked, holding up a foil container. Lasagna. Your mother's? Mine. He examined the label in my handwriting. How long do I cook it? It's written on top. He read the instructions. I can do that, he said. I know. I kissed his cheek, took my coat, and left before either of us could change our mind. Dad called before I reached the turnpike. The oven has 2 bake buttons. One says bake, the other says convection bake. What's convection? Use the regular one. Which one? The one that just says bake. I pressed it. Nothing happened. Did you enter the temperature? You didn't say that. It's written on the foil. It says 350. Enter 350, then press start. A series of beeps sounded through the phone. It says preheating, he said. Good. When do I put the food in? When it beeps. What kind of beep? I gripped the steering wheel. The kind it makes when it's hot. That isn't helpful. Dad, I'm driving. Fine. Go. I hung up and immediately felt as if I had left him holding a live grenade instead of frozen lasagna. Daniel called 10 minutes later. How did it go? I made everyone cry, restarted home care, and taught Dad to use an oven. Productive Sunday. He called before I reached the highway. What was wrong? Nothing. You answered. Yes. Why? Because he fell last month. Daniel let out a breath. I know, I said. It's not logical. It doesn't have to be logical. It just has to be yours. I did not understand what he meant until Dad sent me a photograph that evening. The lasagna sat on a dinner plate beside a glass of water. The edges were black, the center had collapsed, and he had added a parsley sprig from somewhere. Made dinner, he wrote. It looked terrible. I was absurdly proud of him. Marlene returned the next morning and moved the beans back to the top shelf. She sent Dad home from the grocery store with a written list and made him choose his own vegetables. He chose canned corn and a lemon. What was the lemon for? I asked when he called. Color. You bought decorative fruit? It was 59 cents. Put it in water. That ruins the color. He sounded like himself. He also sounded careful around me. He stopped calling before 7 in the morning. When he needed help with a bill, he left a message instead of calling repeatedly. The consideration should have pleased me. Instead, every delayed call felt like evidence that I had frightened him. I started calling more. One evening, Daniel took my phone gently from my hand before Dad answered. You called him 40 minutes ago, he said. I wanted to tell him about the lemon. You already told him to put it in water. He might have. Then let the man drink privately. I reached for the phone. Daniel held it away. Are you trying to limit my contact with my father? No. I'm asking why you call him whenever you feel guilty. I call because I love him. I know. That phrase is getting very condescending. I'm not the one who makes love and guilt share a phone number. I stared at him. He handed the phone back. Too clever again? He asked. Much too clever. I'll tell Marcy. I did not call Dad. The next afternoon, he called me to say the lemon had dried out. Vanessa returned from Chicago with 2 jars of fancy mustard and a photograph of herself beside a hotel fountain. She visited Dad on Saturday and sent me a picture of them playing gin rummy with Marlene. Her caption said, "Everyone cheats." I laughed before I remembered I was angry with her. That was the exhausting part. Anger wanted clean edges. Vanessa kept being funny. She called later while driving home. Dad looks better, she said. He's eating. He said Marlene made him go outside. She did. He told me I hover. You do. Thank you. You're welcome. Traffic hummed through her speaker. Then she asked, Did you tell Elaine about the funeral? What about it? What I said, I didn't have to. She was there. You know what I mean. I told her you were angry. Why are you discussing me with Mom's nurse? She's my friend. Since when? Since she sat with Mom while we argued about who would sleep. We didn't argue. You announced you had work, and I slept in the chair. That isn't an argument. No, it would have required me to disagree. She went silent. I could have let the silence stand. I was getting better at that. Instead, I said, Elaine told me you did things. Vanessa laughed bitterly. How generous. She said you cleaned, ordered supplies, sat with Mom. I did more than that. I know. You don't sound like it. Then tell me. The traffic noise changed as she slowed. What? Tell me what you did. You've already decided, I asked. She took a breath. I changed her sheets when she sweated through them, she said. I washed her hair in the sink because she said the shower made her dizzy. I drove to 3 stores for that ginger candy she liked, and then she said it tasted like soap. I listened to her complain about your father for hours, and when I agreed with her, she defended him. I smiled. That sounds right. She wanted the blue nightgown washed every day. She hated the green one. She said the flowers made her look dead. That also sounds right. Vanessa's voice changed. I sat outside her door sometimes. When? At night. When you were in there. I did not know what to say. I could hear you talking, she continued. She told you things. What things? I don't know. That was the point. Why didn't you come in? Because she would stop. She wouldn't. You don't know that. No, I don't. The silence returned, but it felt different. She liked you better at the end, Vanessa said. She needed me. That's what I said. We both heard it. The difference between love and need, and how neither of us had ever been sure which one counted more. I'm sorry, I said. For what? I don't know. Useful. She ended the call. 3 days later, Aunt Rosemary created a group message titled Diane's Day, which made it sound like a charity golf tournament. Mom's birthday was in May. Rosemary thought we should gather at Dad's house, serve Mom's favorite food, and invite people to share stories. Dad loved the idea. Vanessa immediately offered to organize it. I read the messages without responding. Then Vanessa texted me separately. Can you send photos Mom actually liked? Not funeral ones. I had thousands. Mom in sunglasses holding a tomato from her garden. Mom asleep in a beach chair with her mouth open. Mom pointing furiously at Dad after he dropped a pie. Mom at my kitchen table tasting soup from the wooden spoon. Her eyebrows raised because I had used too much salt. I wrote, check Dad's albums. Most are old. You have the recent ones. I put the phone down. An hour later, she called. Did you see my text? Yes. Can you send them? I'll choose a few. I need them tonight. I'm making a slideshow. Diane's Day is 5 weeks away. I want to start. Then start with what you have. She exhaled. Why are you being difficult? I said I'd choose a few. You have all the good pictures because you were constantly taking them. That isn't why. Then why? Because I was there. The words left an unpleasant taste. Vanessa went quiet. I was there too, she said. I know. Do you? Yes. Because every conversation with you now feels like a correction. Every conversation with you feels like an assignment. I asked for photographs. You asked for them tonight. Oh, forgive me for setting a deadline. It isn't your material. They're pictures of our mother. On my phone, from my time with her. Vanessa's voice sharpened. So you own the memories now? No. But I'm allowed to decide how mine get used. For a family celebration? For your slideshow? What's the difference? I thought of the funeral portrait, her hand on the frame, the caption about sleepless nights. I don't want you using my pictures to tell a story where I disappear. She did not answer. Then she said very quietly, That's what you think I'm doing? That's what you've always done. The call ended. I sent her 5 photographs the next morning. None included me. None included Vanessa either. Mom stood alone in each one, laughing, cooking, squinting into sunlight. Vanessa responded with a single thumbs up. The planning continued without me. Rosemary arranged food. Dad invited neighbors. Vanessa created a digital invitation using the picnic photograph from the memorial mass. She asked the book club women to prepare short memories and assigned Dad's friend Leonard to bring folding chairs. Then she asked me for Mom's recipes. Not all of them, she wrote. Just the personal notes so I can make little cards for the tables. I looked at the wooden recipe box on my shelf. Which notes? I asked. Anything funny or meaningful. The extra glaze, the gelatin salad, the crossed-out chili recipe, the private shorthand of a woman Vanessa wanted to present as though she had translated it herself. I wrote, No. She called immediately. You're refusing to share Mom's recipes. I gave you copies of the recipes. You gave me ingredient lists. I want her notes. Those aren't decorations. Rosemary thinks it's sweet. Then Rosemary can use her own memories. This celebration is for Dad. Then ask Dad for stories. He doesn't remember details. Exactly. Vanessa's breathing changed. You want me to fail? She said. No, you want everyone to see I didn't know her the way you did. I want you to tell the truth about the way you knew her. What does that even mean? It means use your ginger candy, use the blue nightgown, use sitting outside the door. Her voice dropped. I told you that privately. Yes, and you think I should put it on a table? No, I think you should stop asking for my private things because yours make you uncomfortable. She went silent. When she spoke again, the anger was gone. I don't know what to say about her, she admitted. I sat down at the kitchen table. For one dangerous second, every instinct in me rose to help. I could write her speech in 10 minutes. I could choose photographs, scan recipe notes, shape her guilt into something moving and forgivable. I knew exactly what needed doing. Mom's ring sat in the blue pouch inside the drawer behind me. I can't do it for you, I said. Vanessa inhaled. Then, with the flat calm she used when pain had become logistics, she said, Fine, I won't ask again. She kept her word. That hurt more than I expected. For the next 5 weeks, Vanessa communicated through group messages and Dad. Your sister wants to know if you're bringing ice, he told me. Vanessa has my number. She says she's respecting your boundary. That sounds like Vanessa. She also wants to know if you're bringing ice. I'll bring 2 bags. A few days later, he called to say she needed the folding tables from his garage. She has your house key. She doesn't like using it if I'm not home. Since when? Since you started making everybody knock. I never said anybody had to knock. You said things change when people assume access. I was talking about my time. Well, apparently doors are time now. He sounded pleased with himself. Marlene had become his audience. She encouraged his jokes, forced him to take walks, and taught him to heat soup without calling either daughter. Twice a week she left meals labeled in the refrigerator. Dad complained that her lettering was too large, then bought her a better marker. He had also begun making choices that had nothing to do with us. He joined Leonard for breakfast on Fridays. He went back to the hardware store alone. He threw away the dried lemon. Whenever I visited, I still found lists waiting for me. Insurance questions. A lamp that flickered, a drawer that stuck. The difference was that he no longer handed me the list at the door. He waited until after coffee. On the morning of Diane's day, rain arrived sideways. Vanessa had planned tables in the backyard beneath white canopies, with Mom's garden behind them. By 8, the canopies were bucking against their ropes, and one folding chair had traveled into the hydrangeas. Dad called while I was loading ice into a cooler. Disaster, he announced. It's rain. The yard's underwater. Use the house. 50 people? People have been inside before. Vanessa's crying. That moved me faster than disaster. When Daniel and I arrived, 3 cars were parked crookedly in the driveway. Leonard wrestled a wet canopy into the garage while Aunt Rosemary carried trays through the front door beneath a flowered umbrella. The entryway smelled like wet coats and baked ham. Vanessa stood in the dining room staring at the furniture. She wore black pants, a pale blue blouse, and Mom's pearl necklace. Her makeup was flawless except for a small gray streak beneath her left eye. I don't know where to put everybody, she said. We can move the dining table against the wall, I said. The legs will scratch the floor. Put towels under them. The food was supposed to go outside. It can go on the kitchen counters. The slideshow was going to face the patio. Put it in the living room. The windows will glare. It's raining. There is no sun. She looked at me. I know it's raining, Claire. Dad appeared behind her carrying a stack of paper plates. Your mother would have moved the whole thing to a restaurant, he said. Mom would have canceled it, Vanessa snapped. She never canceled a party. She canceled your retirement dinner because you had a cold. That wasn't a party. That was salespeople eating steak. Daniel took the plates from him. Martin, where do you want these? Dad pointed toward the kitchen and followed him, grateful for a man who asked concrete questions. Vanessa gripped the back of a chair. What do you need me to do? I asked. Her eyes filled immediately. I wished I could take the question back. Don't, she said. Don't what? Show up at the last minute and save it. I asked what you need. I need it not to rain. I can't do that. Exactly. Aunt Rosemary entered carrying a crock-pot wrapped in a bath towel. God has moved Diane's party inside, she announced. Probably because your mother complained about the humidity. The room changed. Vanessa laughed through her tears. We moved the table. By noon, Dad's house held 47 damp adults and enough food for a minor election. Coats covered the guest bed. Folding chairs lined the living room walls. People balanced plates on knees and windowsills while Mom's slideshow played on the television. Vanessa had done well. The 5 photographs I sent appeared among pictures from Dad's albums, Rosemary's phone, the book club, and Vanessa's collection. Mom aged and grew younger in loops. She stood in the garden. She danced with Dad at both our weddings. She held the ginger candy Vanessa had driven to 3 stores to find, making a face at the camera. That picture surprised me. Beneath it, Vanessa had written, "She said it tasted like soap. I bought another bag anyway." The table cards did not contain Mom's recipe notes. Instead, Vanessa had printed small memories from different people. Leonard remembered Mom correcting his grammar during an argument. Rosemary described the gelatin salad and admitted Mom had hated it. Dad's card said, "She always knew when I'd move the thermostat." Mine was blank, not visibly. There was simply no card with my name. I told myself that was what I had asked for. Then Elaine arrived. She shook rain from a clear umbrella and handed Dad a potted rosemary plant instead of flowers. "Your wife told me cut flowers were a racket," she said. Dad laughed and hugged her. When Elaine saw me, she smiled. Claire. My name crossed the crowded room again, quieter this time. Vanessa heard it. Her shoulders shifted, but she continued arranging cookies. Elaine touched the leaf pin on my sweater. That was Diane's. Yes, she wore it the day she told me hospital gowns were designed by bitter men. That also sounds like her. Elaine found a seat beside Aunt Rosemary. I carried her coffee without asking how she took it because I knew. 2 creams, no sugar. At 2, Vanessa tapped a fork against a glass. People settled into chairs and doorways. Dad sat in Mom's recliner, the rosemary plant on the table beside him. Daniel stood behind my chair with one hand resting lightly on my shoulder. Vanessa went to the front of the room. "Thank you all for being here," she began. Her voice held. She talked about the rain, Mom's hatred of outdoor parties, and the way grief made ordinary things feel misplaced. She thanked Rosemary, Leonard, the book club, and Father Brennan. Then she looked down at her note cards. "I wanted today to be about who Mom really was," she said. "Not just how she died." She turned one card over. Mom loved cooking. She loved her garden. She loved... Her voice stopped. Somebody's plate clicked against a coffee cup. Vanessa looked at the slideshow behind her. A photograph showed Mom at my kitchen table holding the wooden spoon. It was the picture I had sent, the one where she was tasting my salty soup. Vanessa had never been in my kitchen. She loved making people feel taken care of, Vanessa said. That was not quite true. Mom loved feeding people. She resented being expected to remember how everybody took their coffee. She cooked elaborate meals, then sat down furious because Dad had not noticed she needed help. Vanessa knew the broad version, the printable version. "She taught us that family shows up," she continued. "And during the last year of her life, I had the privilege of..." She stopped again. Elaine looked down at her hands. Dad looked at me. It was barely a movement, just his chin turning, his eyes finding mine. But I knew the request. Give her something. A story. A sentence. A bridge across the silence. I had spent my life building bridges after Vanessa stepped onto air. I stayed seated. Vanessa saw me. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then she put the cards down. "I had the privilege of living with Mom at the end," she said, "and I was terrible at parts of it." The room shifted. Dad sat forward. Vanessa pressed her palms against the edges of the small table. I bought food she couldn't eat. I left rooms when I should have stayed. I answered work emails because they were easier than answering her questions. And my sister drove 2 hours over and over because I called her. My breath left me. Vanessa looked directly at Elaine. The hospice nurse knew Claire by name because Claire answered. No one moved. She knew Mom's medications and how to make the bed without hurting her and which nightgown she could stand to wear. I lived in the house. Claire did the things I said I was doing. Dad's face had gone pale. Aunt Rosemary held a napkin against her mouth. Vanessa swallowed. I loved my mother, she said. I also let my sister carry parts of that love that scared me. Her voice broke. She picked up the cards, though she did not need them. Mom was funny. She was difficult. She kept recipes under the wrong letters and defended Dad after complaining about him for 3 hours. I don't have a perfect story about her. I think I wanted one because the truth made me look bad. She laughed once, painfully. Anyway, she would hate that I'm crying in front of potato salad. People laughed because they loved Mom and because they needed permission to breathe. Vanessa lifted her glass. To Diane. Everyone repeated it. I could not. Afterward, people hugged her. Of course they did. They praised her honesty, her courage, the beautiful party. Rosemary cried into her shoulder. Leonard told her Mom would be proud. Dad held her for a long time beside the television. I stood in the kitchen rinsing serving spoons. Elaine joined me. You don't have to wash those, she said. I know, I kept washing. That was something. Yes. How do you feel? I don't know, that's allowed. I handed her a dish towel. You could have warned me, I said. I didn't know. She looked at you. She was apologizing to you in front of 47 people. Would you have believed her in private? I turned off the water. Elaine dried the spoons slowly. I hate that everybody hugged her, I said. I know. I hate that she got praised for telling the truth after getting praised for the lie. I know. I hate that I'm proud of her. Elaine placed the spoon on the counter. There you are. Vanessa entered before I could answer. Her face was blotchy. The pearls sat crooked on her neck. Can we have the kitchen? She asked. Elaine touched my arm and left. Vanessa closed the swinging door behind her. For a moment, we stood with the hum of conversation muffled on the other side. Did Dad tell you to do that? I asked. No. Rosemary? No. Then why? Vanessa leaned against the refrigerator. Because you stayed seated. At the funeral? Today. I looked down at the wet counter. I saw Dad look at you, she said. I looked too. I thought you'd fix it. I almost did. I know. How? Because you leaned forward. I had not realized. Vanessa touched Mom's pearls. When you sat back, I had nothing. You had your own memories. I had pieces. That's what memories are. Yours look whole. They aren't. She laughed without humor. You even grieve better. Don't do that. What? Turn me into something impossible so you don't have to stand beside me. Her face tightened. I knew, she said. I waited. I knew you were doing more. Not every hour, not every appointment. But I knew. The words were quieter than her speech and far more painful. I told myself living there counted more, she continued. I told myself Mom called for you because you made yourself necessary. I told myself you liked being the competent one. Sometimes I did. I hated you for it. I hated you for getting thanked. She nodded as if we had finally found an honest language. I was afraid of her, she said. Not dying, needing. The way she looked at me when she needed something physical, like we both knew I might leave. So you left. Yes. The answer had no defense attached. My throat tightened. I made it easy, I said. I came every time. You came for Mom. I came for you too. Then I punished you in my head for needing me. Vanessa wiped her cheek. I said alone because everybody was looking at me, she whispered. And for 1 minute, I wanted it to be true. I looked through the doorway window. Dad sat in the living room holding the rosemary plant while Daniel stacked chairs. What happens now? Vanessa asked. I don't know. Are you still my sister? The question was so simple it frightened me. "Yes," I said, "but I don't know how to be the old one." She nodded. "I don't want the old one," she said. "Neither of us was brave enough to promise what came next." Vanessa opened the kitchen door. Noise returned in a rush. Cups, laughter, chair legs, Aunt Rosemary telling somebody where the bathroom was as if she owned the house. Dad stood on the other side. He had probably been there long enough to hear something. His eyes moved from Vanessa's face to mine. "People are leaving," he said. "Okay," Vanessa answered. He looked at her. "That was a brave thing you did." She lowered her eyes. Then he looked at me. I waited. He rubbed one thumb along the silver handle of his cane. "Your mother would have liked today. It was not enough. It was also what he had." "I think so too," I said. Daniel carried a stack of plates past us. "Anyone who wants to have an emotional breakthrough needs to hold one of these." Dad took 4. Vanessa took 6. I took the rest. We cleaned for another hour. Aunt Rosemary packed leftovers into containers and assigned them without permission. Leonard folded chairs. Elaine washed coffee cups beside Daniel and made him admit he did, in fact, judge Dad's recliner. "It has cup holders and heat," Dad argued. "So does a minivan," Daniel said. Dad laughed harder than the joke deserved. When the last guest left, the house looked tired. Wet footprints marked the entry tile. Balloons brushed the ceiling. Mom's face remained frozen on the television, holding a glass of wine toward the camera. Vanessa unplugged the laptop. "Do you want the slideshow?" she asked me. "No." Her expression flickered. "I mean, send me a copy," I said. "I don't want the job of keeping the only one." She understood. "I'll send it to you and Dad. And Rosemary will print it." We both smiled. Dad stood in the doorway holding the potted rosemary. "What am I supposed to do with this?" "Put it in the kitchen window," Vanessa said. "It needs sun," I said. "The kitchen window gets sun." "Not much." They both looked at me. I lifted my hands. "It's your plant." Dad carried it to the kitchen window. That was how change began in our family, not with apologies, with an herb placed imperfectly and left there. At home, I took Mom's blue pouch from the drawer. The wedding ring, recipe box key, and folded note fell onto the table in the same order they had in the church parking lot. The note looked smaller than I remembered. For Claire, who always knows what needs doing. "Please help your father when I'm gone." Daniel stood across the kitchen, drinking water. "Are you going to throw it away?" he asked. "I don't know. You don't have to decide tonight. That's suspiciously healthy. I'm stealing Marcy's best material." I folded the note again and returned it to the pouch. Not yet. The public truth did not repair anything quickly. Aunt Rosemary called 2 days later and said, "I had no idea you were doing so much. You knew I was driving in. I knew you helped." There was the word. "What did you think I did when I got there?" I asked. She was quiet. "Your mother worried about both of you," she said finally. "That isn't an answer." "No." Rosemary sighed. "I suppose I thought if it were really too much, you'd say." "I tried." "When?" "Every time I said I was tired." She began to cry. I comforted her for 4 minutes before realizing what I was doing. "Rosemary, I have to go. Are you angry with me?" "Yes." The word came out without heat. She inhaled. "Will you call me when you're not?" "I don't know." "All right." Her acceptance surprised me. 3 days later, she mailed me a card with no inspirational message and no defense. Inside, she had written, "I'm sorry I heard tired and thought dependable." I kept it. Dad's life became smaller and more his. Marlene continued twice a week. He paid the agency himself after asking me to explain the invoice once. He began cooking 1 meal every Sunday, though cooking often meant heating a frozen entree and adding parsley. He put the rosemary plant on the porch when the weather warmed, where it nearly died from too much sun. Marlene moved it. He complained, then admitted she was right. He still called me. The calls changed because I changed what happened after them. When the kitchen faucet leaked, I gave him a plumber's number instead of driving down with tools. When he said the house felt empty, I did not offer to fill it. I listened while he described the sound of the refrigerator and asked whether he wanted to meet Leonard for breakfast. Sometimes he accused me of managing him. Sometimes I was. We were both learning. Vanessa and I learned more slowly. She stopped using Dad as a messenger. Her texts became almost comically direct. Can you talk? Do you want advice, or are you telling me no? I'm asking for help, and you can say no. The first time she wrote that, I stared at the screen so long she sent another message. You can also answer before Christmas. She still exaggerated. She told the book club she had cooked all the food for Diane's day, though Rosemary had made the ham and half the casseroles. I corrected her in private. You cannot help yourself, she said. You cannot help giving yourself producer credit. Fine. I curated the food. That is worse. She laughed. We had dinner together without Dad for the first time in years. Halfway through, Vanessa asked whether I wanted the last dinner roll. I said yes. She looked wounded, then laughed again. There were things we did not discuss. Her funeral speech remained online. She never edited the caption. I did not ask her to. The comments praising her stayed beneath it, permanently preserved beside a version of our mother's illness that had not happened. The difference was that Vanessa stopped repeating it. One evening, she sent me a photograph of Mom's blue nightgown folded in a box. I kept this, she wrote. Is that strange? No. I hated it. I know. I sent her a photograph of the meatloaf card with Claire likes extra glaze written on the back. She responded, she made mine without onions. I had not known that. We began trading pieces. Dad apologized to me on a Tuesday afternoon while discussing mulch. I expected too much, he said. I thought I had misheard. What? The bags are $5 for $20, but I don't need 5. Before that. He cleared his throat. I said I expected too much. Of me? I'm not talking to the mulch. I sat down at my desk. Why are you saying this now? Marlene told me I treat apologies like expired coupons. I laughed before I could stop myself. She's very wise. She's very nosy. Dad. He sighed. I knew you were helping your mother, he said. I didn't know how much because I didn't want to know. If I admitted she needed that much care, then I had to admit I couldn't give it. I looked through the office window at a truck backing toward our loading dock. You could have thanked me. I did. You thanked both of us together. Then you told Vanessa she had sacrificed everything. He was silent. I'm sorry, he said. I pressed the phone harder against my ear. I don't know what to do with that yet. You don't have to do anything. It was the first gift he had given me that came without a handle. Buy 2 bags, I said. Leonard probably needs mulch. He buys the red kind. It looks ridiculous. We argued about mulch for 10 minutes. Elaine waited nearly 2 months before calling me for coffee again. We met at the same diner. She had the red glasses and 2 slices of lemon cake. You look rested, she said. I am, a little. Disappointing. I had a whole speech prepared. We talked about Dad, Marlene, Vanessa's confession, and Diane's day. Elaine had admired the rosemary plant and had not expected Dad to keep it alive. Mom didn't keep herbs alive either, I said. She bought new basil every spring and acted like it was the same plant. Elaine smiled. Then she took off her glasses and cleaned them with a paper napkin. There's something I didn't tell you before. My stomach tightened. Your mother was awake near the end, she said. Not for long, maybe an hour. I was there. You were asleep in the recliner. I wasn't asleep. You were making a sound like a lawnmower hitting gravel. I looked down at my coffee. She asked me where you were, Elaine continued. I told her you were right beside her. What did she need? Nothing. What did she ask for? You? No. I mean, what did she want me to do? Elaine reached across the table and covered my hand. She didn't want you to do anything, Claire. The diner blurred. She said she was scared, Elaine continued. I asked if she wanted medication. She said, no. Wake Claire. Claire makes it feel less dangerous. I closed my eyes. Why didn't you wake me? She changed her mind. She said you had to drive home in the morning. Then she held your hand until she fell asleep. I don't remember. You were asleep. I should have been awake. That is not the story I just told you. I laughed and cried at the same time, which hurt. Elaine pushed the second piece of cake closer. Mom had loved me. Mom had used me. Mom had seen how tired I was and protected my sleep for 1 hour after taking it for granted over hundreds of others. Both things were true. That evening, I put her wedding ring on my middle finger. Then I unfolded the note one last time. I did not tear it up or burn it in the sink. Mom would have considered that theatrical. I dropped it into the kitchen trash beneath coffee grounds and an empty bread bag. I kept the ring, the key, and the pouch. On Sunday, I drove to Dad's house because I wanted to. I brought no groceries, no folders, and no list. Vanessa's SUV was already in the driveway. Inside, she stood at the kitchen counter making Dad a sandwich while he inspected each layer. "That's too much mustard," he said. "You like mustard. Not as a building material." Vanessa saw me and pointed the knife in my direction. "Tell him this is a normal amount. I'm not getting involved." Dad smiled. "You say that a lot now. I mean it more." I sat at the kitchen table. Vanessa scraped some mustard back into the jar, then looked at me as if daring me to comment. I did not. She cut the sandwich diagonally, which Dad considered wasteful for reasons he had never explained. The rosemary plant sat in the window, thin but alive. Dad carried his plate to the table. He sat across from me and took one bite. "Needs pickles," he said. "There are pickles in the refrigerator," Vanessa answered. He looked at me. "Claire, can you—" "No, Dad." The word was gentle. It stayed between us without breaking anything. He chewed, swallowed, and nodded toward the empty chair beside him. I moved into it. "But I can sit with you for a while," I said.